Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the first Jim Cornette experience of 2026. We're all another year older and deeper in the same old shit. But today's topic, brain damage and people that have it. And joining me for all this and more, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you. His brand is being the brainiest Brian. The great Brian Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again for a brainy edition of the experience. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on things we're getting caught up on today.
You can't wait. I can't talk. I haven't done this for 2 weeks now. And see, I've proven once again my old adage, the old saying, it goes for almost anything. How could I miss you if you won't go away? Well, now I've gone away and missed the show. And now I'm back and 10 pounds lighter, as that's an old promo line from 1976. But I'm back, baby, on the experience here, and we have so much to catch up on. Of course, the variety of people who've been dropped on their heads and or who have long exhibited signs that they may have been in the past dropped on their heads. But Brian, you know, the people, the cult of Cornette members, they just love it when I keep them up on the weather from around here in Louisville. You know about my weather reports.
I would say that we probably have the most weather-conscious wrestling audience out there because
that's
of these
right.
segments.
And we have a number of meteorologists that actually follow me on Twitter and listen to the program for the various inside information they get here. And I've been talking about in November and December how the weather's been so shitty here in Louisville, Kentucky. It's snow and cold and bleak and windy and everything. Well, I'll have you know that over Christmas week, Brian, we said, by the way, hopefully everybody had a great Christmas and New Year. We had a wonderful Christmas dinner here on Christmas Day with Stacy's folks and exchanged the presents and blah, blah, blah. And that was just lovely. And then just 3 days after the Sunday after Christmas, what was that? 28th? December of 28th is what I'm
28th.
saying.
That's right.
Yes. Well, we set a record. Guess what the temperature was in Louisville, Kentucky at 5 p.m. on Sunday, December 28th.
60 degrees.
75 degrees.
Wow.
Guess what the temperature was 12 hours later at 5 a.m. on Monday morning?
60 degrees.
24.
Oh.
We had a 51-degree temperature drop. I think the all-time record for any period of any 24-hour period here in Louisville is like 56 degrees or whatever years and years ago. And in between that temperature drop, Brian, came the cold front. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever seen a severe thunderstorm with no thunder and no lightning?
Well, without thunder, how could it be a thunderstorm would be my question.
Exactly. But by God, we had it. Sunday night, they'd said it's going to be windy, and it had been windy all day, and the wind gusts 40, 45 miles an hour. They said this front's going to come through, but we have no thunderstorm fuel. Even though it's hot, we don't have the Zabada. So there won't really be any organized severe weather. Bullshit. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there watching TV, and up pops Mark Weinberg on WDRB, my weather guy. He's the man, baby. He'll tell you what the dew point is up fucking somebody's ass in a fucking crowded theater. They break in. The weather service has issued for this line, this cold front coming in, severe thunderstorm warnings with tornado possible tags on it. And the wind is coming. And there was no thunder and no lightning. It was brief, heavy rain and high winds. And 10 minutes and boom, it's gone by, right? But then it's after dark. So I look out all the windows. I don't see anything disturbed. I'm like, okay, we got past that. Next morning, the sun comes up. I look out the back window. Brian, remember when that giant poplar tree about a year and a half ago turned over sideways out of the fucking ground?
Yeah.
100 feet tall, it just laid to the size of a fucking battleship. 25 feet away, a maple tree. The trunk of it's so big, 2 grown men could barely reach around it. And one of the oldest trees left on the property has just broken off at the ground and gone the same exact direction, like 20 feet over, and done the 7-10 split in between 2 other trees, thankfully, and come to the rest at the foot of a mulberry tree that it just popped a couple of branches out of. This thing is fucking 75 feet tall. And truth be known, if somebody had said, we got to take one tree, which one would you pick? Because this one was old and I knew it. And I was thinking about having the top taken out of it anyway, because I didn't want it to break off and fall, even though it wasn't really dead. It was just a stalk up there with a little foliage, but the bottom was all green and everything. So I just had the fucking tree guy out this morning, and there's $6,000 to remove this giant 25-ton fucking obstacle from my backyard. So,
do you ever eat any mulberries off the mulberry tree?
No, I don't. But I would run you around the mulberry bush for asking if. No, I used to eat. We used to have some nice blackberry and blueberry bushes in the back that we would. When I was little, my mom would go back there and get some, and we would have some berries and things. But that was years ago, and they haven't made it. They're gone. They're long gone.
Well, back to the winter.
Along with this giant $6,000 fucking tree. Long gone. But now it's back to being, it's cold. It's been cold, and it's going to warm up the next couple of days. And then the same thing's going to happen. A cold front's going to come through, and it's going to be windy. I'm like, fuck. And my thing on the computer, my little weather thing down on the bar, rainy days ahead. That sounds like a song we ought to, rainy days ahead. It's going to be nothing but gloom, doom, despair, and agony, oh me, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Gloom, despair, and agony, oh me.
Well, now there's a dark cloud over my head.
Well, you ought to get the doctor to look at that. Maybe they could fix that. If you've got that thing following you around, there may be some kind of surgery they can perform.
A dark cloud in the vocal form, like your thunderstorm would have thunder.
Well, we established that I sing in a special key on my own. A lot of people can't keep up with it. But while we were on the Christmas break, Brian, independently of each other, you and I have begun to think alike. Sort of like the old married couple, when we've been around each other too long. Independently of each other, we both watched a documentary TV series, limited series, whatever the fuck, on the streaming television. And then you wrote me and said, oh, you got to watch this. It's great. And I wrote you back and said, I just watched it. And it is, what service is the documentary series Selling Superman on? Do you remember?
I think it was Amazon Prime, if not Netflix, but I think it was Amazon Prime.
Well, it's one of them that I've got to have to watch the wrestling. So the Prime Video with the little swoosh that says that means it's Amazon, right? Because they swoosh people. Is this correct?
They do, in fact, have the trademark on the swoosh. I was looking to see if I could find where it's on Amazon Prime. That is correct.
Okay, well, there you go. So swoosh on over. Selling Superman is, and it's been out, I guess, for a year or so, and I had not heard anything about it, and I don't think you had either. But it's like a 4-part documentary series on this guy and his a couple family members and some immediate friends that came into possession of his father's comic book collection. And the guy who did the documentary, for blessing or a curse, he was a friend of the family. So he started at the very beginning. He knew about this thing before anybody else did, and he was documenting it. But because he was a friend of the family and not really a comic book collector, although I don't know the answers to the questions that I wanted are able to be had, because apparently this guy's father was he was mentally diagnosed, or after the fact possibly diagnosed with, he had something going on.
I think they said Asperger's, but he was also obviously an accomplished contract lawyer.
Well, he was an accomplished fucking secret agent is what he was, because this guy had assembled this comic book collection over a period of, I guess, probably 40 years or whatever. And it took over the guy's whole life. And these kids were brought up in the house, and they talked to the mother, who was the wife of the guy, who said it affected our whole family, because the more that he got and brought home, they didn't really know what was there, and they didn't really know what he was doing or where he was getting it from. But it took over the basement, and then it took over a closet. It took over another room. And then he didn't want to leave the house, the guy, because he was scared that somebody would come and get the comic books. And he made the kids swear when they went to school, don't tell anybody about the comic books. And it was like a dark family secret, only instead of some kind of porn dungeon in the basement, he had comic books. But what I wanted answered was, where did he fucking go to get all of these comic books? The guy dies, the family starts trying to figure out what's going on. And they had 300,000 comic books. And Brad, that's the number you heard, right? Plus they had sports cards and other type of things, but 300,000 comic books.
Yeah, that was another thing they just kind of threw out there. There were also toys and sports cards. So that's a whole nother part of the collection they really didn't dive into.
Yes, but here's the thing. And I mean, the only thing I can compare that to is at my height, when I had all the comics I'd ever had before I'd sold anything, I had probably 14,000, including the coverless and the old grummy classics illustrated, right? Just all the direct. This would be over 20 times that. And not only that, but the content. I'm sitting there as they're at various points leafing through the varieties of books. This was golden age through the 90s. I guess in maybe 2000s, he didn't stop until he died. But also multiple copies, high grade issues of stuff that wasn't even everything. Everything. And I know for a fact, because I lived through it and we've talked about it. This guy, the reason why I was selling Superman was the title, because the two prize books in his collection were copies of Superman #1 and Batman #1. And the Superman #1 graded at a 9.0. And I get, well, let's go ahead and say it now. And they sold it at auction for $3.5 million, the one book out of 300,000. But even in 1972, a Superman #1 in any condition would have set you back a couple of $100. Remember, I've mentioned the 1970 chance I had to buy an Action Comics #1 for $400. from good old Howard Rogofsky. But not only you couldn't really find one in a 9.0 even in those days for that money. And maybe they didn't know because the guy just left and came back with shit. And the kids and the family was never included. So maybe they didn't know where he got all this, but where in the fuck, even in the 70s and 80s, and did they ever say what the guy did for a living? Because his son apparently is really well off, and that's why he was able to rent the place to store this and take care of it and all that stuff. But what did this guy do?
Oh, he was a lawyer. They said he was a contract lawyer.
Okay, that's a contract lawyer.
That's how he had all the money for all that. I mean, when you say he had multiples, like
stacks.
Imagine like any comic you would want from the 60s or 70s if all of a sudden they pulled out a stack of them, and many of them appear to be mint condition. I mean, it's insane. It was insane. And the son's well off. He said that. Also, maybe on the gas, I don't know. But the son's well off.
Yeah, I think he is.
And they not just got the space, but they kind of built a deluxe storage facility with security and all sorts of things because it's an invaluable collection.
Yeah, well, it's a storage unit looking facility type, but they've got like a warehouse with customized shelves and the security cameras and the climate control and the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's my fucking 12-year-old goddamn dream come true, right? But again, this guy had to be going and buying not just books for a collection, but stock. Because when the kid that helped me grade my marbles and DCs 20 years ago, he had worked for what at the time was the biggest comic shop in town. And he said that my collection was as far as back issues went, was the store, and the store's back issues was a collection. I had more than they did specifically of back issues, not only the Marvels, DCs, but everything. This guy had to be going to comic shops and buying the stock. There's no other way that he could have done this.
Well, at one point, I think in the last episode, when they had the son talk with they found a couple of the guys who used to work at the comic book store in the 80s that he was aware of. And they thought that the owner may have bartered with the father for legal work at times. Like, hey, can you do this for me in exchange? Here's this case of giant size X-Men #1 for you to have. Just cases of comics.
But see, no, there's so much golden age that I was looking at also, and obscure shit that I saw from the 50s that I don't, again, to assemble, there's dealers that have 300,000 books, and the mega dealers have back issues in their arsenal, but not this quality, this level, this condition. And I don't know how, and again, to keep it secret from the family for all of that period of time, to where he had the good stuff was in a little custom built closet that was behind a fucking false wall. And
a false wall that had a bookshelf in front of it filled with comics.
Yes. So I'm anybody else, it would have been a documentary about finding people in the basement, but this guy had the rarest comics in the goddamn on the planet.
See, but that's one of the weird things that there's no answer to. It's one of the big things that the son is kind of searching for. Why did he do it? Collecting is something, you and I understand, and other people who listen to the show can understand, whether it's a small collection or a big one. When you collect things, you do. But sometimes you think, well, one day my kids will get it, or one day I'll donate it, one day I'll sell it, whatever it is. It didn't appear there was any end game. And, there was one guy who tried to tell the son, your father saved it for you. Obviously, it was for you to find it and you and your family to sell it and share the love or whatever the fuck. And the son didn't even believe that. He said that wasn't my dad.
Because he'd been told all his life, don't tell anybody about this shit and stay away from it. And, but I'm again, even if he wanted to be a collector, but didn't want to share it with the family or whatever, he couldn't get to most of what he had because it was just packed in this house that it was crowding them out. That's why the wife divorced him, right? And he got crowded out. But it had to be some kind of obsessive thing where I'm just going to accumulate all of these things, even if I can't ever get to them because the other things are in front of them. But I'm just, again, as somebody who I probably would have started collecting comics around the same time as this guy. I think when he died, he was probably a little older than me, but I remember what it was like trying to find before the internet and before the mainstreaming of the hobby to find shit like that. And it was very hard. And I guarantee you that he had some of that golden age shit, especially by the 90s or well before, because even I don't care if he was Johnny Cochran, he couldn't have afforded a lot of this shit, no matter what he did, and keep it secret from the family. Where did these hundreds of thousands of dollars go last year, Bill? So this, I'd loved if he had saved receipts like Jack Pfeffer for every time he bought something or made some kind of deal. That would have been insane. But
what do you think of what the son's doing in terms of selling what he's selling from the collection at the same time that he's buying things and adding to the collection, and there are certain things he won't sell? They are, they found different sellers to cover different areas, including an auction house. What do you think of what they're doing to sell the inventory they're selling?
Well, Harley Yee is a comics dealer that's been advertising in the Overstreet price guide for years and years. As nice as he's like a 4'9" little round-faced fella. I think he was kind of being nice to the two fellows that he met, that he was trying to consign a lot of the what they call run books. It's like these are books that people want to complete their runs. They're not key issues or major collector's items on their own, but if somebody's trying to get 1 through 100, they want number 72. And some of the lower price stuff, I think he was being nice to those people because they looked like they were giving a lot of effort out. With some of the bigger stuff, a guy like the Harley Yee or some of these other major Overstreet advertisers, they do go to all the big conventions and they're right there when people are on the spot looking for shit in person. But the only way to do the major books anymore is by an auction house like Heritage, or I think Metropolis Comics has done major auction business with these books that are worth millions of dollars, because you can't, it's got to be a worldwide auction with a known platform, because you can't get 5 or 6 people that are willing to spend $1 million or more on a comic book in the same place, the same time in person. And you can't just do that on fucking eBay unless you're an idiot. Didn't Logan Paul spend $1 million on something on eBay? He's an idiot. But you can't, do that if you're legitimate. So you got to split. That's the thing that I ran into. It was like, a lot of people would have bought my entire collection, but they would have only given me 20 or 30 cents on the dollar or whatever, because where are you going to immediately go and turn around 10 or 12,000 books? Not even golden age like this shit. So this guy may not live long enough to sell all of those books, but what do you need 54 copies of Tales of Suspense 58 for?
That's where they got me. It wasn't even seeing like the rare issues or the issues that as a kid I was like, oh, I wish I had that. It was just the stacks. When it was just piles of issues. But it's astounding. Tales to astonish, maybe I should say. And
yes, it's astonishing.
But it's a really good 4-part documentary. And again, they're still out there and they're still selling comic books, and they have their What do you? One last thing about all this.
and also, and we didn't mention this main son that's doing this maybe have inherited some of his father's mental makeup, because he was about to have a breakdown over the process of going through all of this.
Well, he almost had a breakdown when the filmmaker dropped Superman #1.
Yes.
In the case. And that's what I was going to ask you about. What are your thoughts on, as someone who has collected and sold, just the whole grading process and comic books in cases, and just what are your thoughts on, obviously it's a necessity. It's part of how things are sold today, but what are your thoughts on all of it?
The grading process is always been necessary because you've got to have some kind of standard to attach a value. Is it in good condition or very good or fine or whatever? And I've mentioned before, in the olden days, good, fine, and mint, even in the first Overstreets, was a $1, $2, $3 spread. Good, $1, fine, $2, mint, $3. And, that was the way it was for quite some time. And then they started developing the 0 to 10 numeric grading system, where you get a 9.6 or a 9.8 because the chipmunk that ate the corner only bit with one tooth or whatever, right? And then the slabbing, where they, put the book, whatever, in the plexiglass sleeve, which, if it's something incredibly valuable, yes, for an investment, the slabbing and the minute grading and the professional grading and everything is worth it, because people then feel more confident about paying the money, especially sight unseen, or even if it's in person, they know what they've got exactly. But at the same time, you can't open the goddamn book. You can't read the book. You can't, even if you're being careful. And even if you can't just smell the book, even if you don't want to open the pages, you can't touch it. That, to me, then it takes, collecting has always been for fun, because you like the subject, and investment if you're spending money, but that things are going to appreciate. But the slabbing, it takes it all the way just to investment without any collecting for fun. So that's, I have a few slabbed books that people have given me, but I never had any of mine done. And then when I sold them, I knew that the people that bought them were going to go and fucking slab them, but that was none of my concern at that point. But it's pure greed and commerce, Brian, is the whole fucking deal. But if I had a 9.0 Superman #1, I would have slabbed that son of a bitch, because I'd have $3.5 million right now, and you and I wouldn't be speaking.
Was Superman #1 always bigger than Batman #1, even at Batman's peak in popularity, which probably surpassed Superman's in some respect until the movie came out with Christopher Reeve?
Well, but back up again, because yes, while Superman #1, I believe, and I'm willing to be corrected, I don't have photographic memory for every Overstreet price guide for the last 50 years, but Superman 1 was usually more expensive than Batman 1, but Detective 27, which is the first Batman, was more expensive than Superman 1. But Action 1, which was the first Superman, was always the one that was nudging out Detective 27. So it's been neck and neck there. And then you can throw in some fucking, really rare, timely stuff, the Captain Americas, the various, Marvel, what came to be Marvel characters, but they never, the Amazing Fantasy 15 was the first Silver Age book that really got into the Action 1, Detective 27 fucking price stratosphere that I'm aware of.
Well, this has been the Comics Corner.
Well, who else has been cornered because he's not a stand-up comic? We go from from selling Superman to tugging on a Nature Boy's cape. I want to say at the start of this, because so many people have flooded the Twitter waves sending us these things and asking. I've always I've been a fan of Ric Flair since I was a fan of wrestling as a young child, a young whippersnapper. And from the start of working with Flair, he's the one that recruited me in the Midnight to work for Jim Crockett. He gave me my first booking job on their booking committee. And I learned all kinds of stuff there. And he made me and Jim Ross the permanent commentary duo on the Clash Champions specials. So I learned a lot there on commentary. He's done all kinds of things for me. So I'm not trying to dogpile on Ric Flair. But these are self-inflicted wounds, Brian. These are unforced errors. These are unfortunate things that he is doing to himself that I can't see that there wasn't options, that these things did not have to happen. There was an option here that we wouldn't be talking about this right now, and that nobody would be talking about Barf and his friends right now. Have I confused the people with what I'm talking about yet?
Possibly. You haven't exactly said it, what we're about to talk about, but
Ric Flair has spoken out in public again when he shouldn't have. And this time he did it. He videotaped himself doing it and then sent it out. And people are laughing at him over it. And I don't blame them. But I just wish he wouldn't do these things. I wish it didn't have to be this way. But in the words of Downtown Bruno, Mama says it bees that way sometimes.
See, you know what part of the problem is? The Ric Flair you worked with. And again, the public persona was different than the private guy, but even the private guy may not have been where he is today.
He wasn't.
But Ric Flair, with all the partying and everything else, he was a composed speaker and a good representative. And I actually have a little bit of audio I want to play for you for a second, because this just went up a few weeks ago. I saw it. Someone sent it over to me. It's Ric Flair on TNN promoting a WCW event, but just listen to how he's talking.
Now, the big fight, do you call them fights? I guess you do.
Yeah, wrestling matches.
The big match is on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And who is the guy that you're going after?
Barry Windham. He's the reigning NWA World Heavyweight Champion right now.
Are you nervous?
I'm nervous, but I've prepared hard for this match, and I'm ready Sunday. I think that I'm ready to, hopefully win the match.
Now, he's the lone wolf. How is...
I'll stop it there. Just a brief example. He used to just sound like a normal guy. And again, if you're hiring him for a cameo, you may not want just the normal guy, but I don't feel like we ever see the normal guy anymore.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that in my experience with Rick, and of course, I did not go to plumb crazy with all of the horsemen and etc. and do all of that stuff. Everybody knows that was not my thing, but I traveled with Flair. When he was the booker, I was riding the car with him and Kevin. I've been in restaurants, nice restaurants with Flair and Cleopatra, his ex-wife. I've been in CNN Center, and even in meetings with Jim Hurd, who he really wanted to come over the table and just fucking gouge his eyes out. Traveling around in hotels, whatever. He was dressed. He looked the fucking part. He was the world champion. He was polite. He was professional. Especially, like you said, this wasn't a wrestling appearance that you just played. It was on TNN just talking about the upcoming pay-per-view. So he wasn't flipping the fuck out. He looked like a professional athlete. And that's the experience that I had. And it dawned on me, and then we'll get into the cameos here that he's been doing. But it dawned on me that Flair made not only a fortune, but also established himself as the greatest wrestler in the ring of all time to so many people, trying to be Ray Stevens. But when he retired, He should have started trying to be Nick Bockwinkel. But he's still trying to be Ray Stevens. And there's a reason that Ray Stevens wasn't even being Ray Stevens really to the end, and he was only 60 or whatever. Can you imagine if Flair had adopted the Bockwinkel path, the dress nice, the hair in place, the yes, sir,
that's class. The way he was. See, that's the way he was. I heard Ric Flair say yes, sir, in like interviews with like real people, not like wrestling.
Real people and a woman.
Not yet, well, real women broadcasters, not people like we just heard on TNN, not on wrestling. He used to be very polite and he knew what he should be. And now he appears to be completely fucking unhinged. And, you know, you bring up the cameo thing. We almost talked about this before our break. Because that day that we last recorded, someone sent me this first thing with no audio. Just a review that someone left. And I thought it was so funny, and we figured let's wait. We're about to go to break. And then audio came out, and we'll talk about that too. But Jim, the first thing we saw was a review for a Ric Flair cameo on November 26, 2025, left by Anonymous.
And I guess, by the way, we should just mention that cameos are where people pay money for the celebrity in question to do a video and send it to them per their specifications, just for everybody to keep them up.
Well, here's the review. This may be the video. We'll check, but here's the review. Yo, I paid $600 for Rick to sit in a restaurant, blast it out of his mind, and say my dad's name wrong.
God damn it.
I paid for him to say Merry Christmas to my father, Buff. He called him Barf.
Merry Christmas, Barf.
He called him Barf and just read the instructions word for word. I'm super disappointed. I spent money on this. I would have got someone who would actually put in the effort for $600 to a regular person. That's a lot of money. I'm not going to give a Christmas video to my father with his hero calling him Barf. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
I haven't heard do you have the audio on that? Because I haven't heard that one. I've heard the other one.
I don't know. This one says he found the video. Is this the right one? Not even the same video, so no, it's not.
Oh, okay, well, there's more.
Well, yeah, so that's the Barf incident. So we heard about Barf. And then you can go.
The one that I saw, I'm thinking maybe is the one that you've got, is he's supposed to say happy wedding, congratulations to whoever the fellow is. And he spends like a minute and a half on, why the fuck would you get married? What the fuck's the matter with you? And meaning it.
Well, again, we have the audio. We'll play that in a second. We should probably read the review first because it'll explain the issues before you hear it. But also, it's important to note, not everyone's you. You took it very serious and had very popular cameos in your home office in a quiet setting. But we've seen other people, seemingly they needed a quiet setting. They went to their car. Like, they did what they could to deliver for like $50, whatever it was, a cameo to someone in a professional way. So you pay $600, or this person said actually it was $1,000.
They would go somewhere where you would have at least a private phone call, not just in the middle of a goddamn county fair. Go ahead.
Well, this review here from April. After spending nearly $1,000 to have someone my brother admired enough to have tattooed on him, wish him luck on his wedding, I would have expected Rick to at least browse through the notes ahead of time, not read it word for word the first time, and most definitely not to tell him he's making a mistake. And to remain a GF because he was so fucked up he could barely speak right. What would have been a great gift ended up being the worst thing he's ever been gifted. Unbelievable. 1-star review. So let's
well, at least she didn't give it no stars.
Let's go to the audio in question, Jim. Here's Ric Flair on Cameo. I don't know where he is. There's a lot of people in the background.
It's a bar of some description. He's just sitting there holding his own phone, looking at it with people at the bar milling around and having conversations in the background.
To my man Eric.
And I was with
From Tina.
Evan and all that.
Fam.
Yeah,
And the military boy.
Red Dog.
Woo!
I
I guess it's a beautiful gift. I'm not sure why. Oh, bachelor gift. Gotcha, man.
It was already.
Eric has a tattoo of your famous.
Yeah, if you're already.
Woo! Hey, guys, Eric, so many women do. So more to do it. Now he's getting married. Oh my God. Why would you get married, motherfucker? It's the worst possible commitment you could do. Because as of the day you get married, 50% of everything is hers. I don't care how beautiful she is. Stay her girlfriend. His family, Tina, and the military boys want to wish him the best of luck. Matt says diamonds are forever, and so is Ric Flair. And that's the God's honest truth, brother. I'm a diamond. I'm forever. I've overstayed my welcome. And my name.
What was that?
I've overstayed my welcome. Truer words may have never been spoken.
I've heard him say, diamonds are forever in promos for years. I never heard, I am a diamond.
And I am forever, and he has arrived, and he is here.
Again, not everyone could be you in terms of the effort that they put into a cameo. You really took a lot of care in making sure that
don't just put, because I'm not even selling. As a matter of fact, you're plugging something I don't even do anymore, but that's the reverse of this is why I don't do them. Because what I did was I had Hotchkiss. I said, go out and get the #1 phone, the best phone to do the videos. We have a Cameo phone, right? That's all it's ever been used for. And we found the place in the office where the lighting was perfect, and we got the audio down, and etc. And he got the hang of uploading them and sending them to the Cameo people, because I wasn't going to do that. And we treated it like a goddamn day of local promos. And we put 50 on sale, and he would come in with a stack of 50 sheets of paper with the instructions on it. And we'd go one by one instead of, okay, this is Charlotte, this is Atlanta, this is Greensboro. It'd be like, okay, this is for little Ned. He's getting over his hernia surgery. There's Farquhar. He's just recently moved to a desert island in the South Pacific, whatever. And I would give everybody at least 2 minutes because it was $150, which I thought was a lot of money. But it's an 8-hour day to do 50 of them. Hotchkiss even got me the music stand so I could do notes like this is for so-and-so and from so-and-so. And, he's fat or whatever, and put the notes on. So I was, because they would give me a description or what they wanted me to say about somebody. But sometimes it would be, hey, my brother Pismo's a big fan, roast him. I don't know what he looks like, how old he is, where he lives, what he does for a living. You try doing 2 minutes on that. And I'm looking for props around the office to bring in and shit, and whatever the fuck. And finally, at the end of an 8-hour day, I would say, goddamn, I'm mentally exhausted. I could make the same amount of money if I just spent this day writing my next book in the long run. And I didn't want to just charge ridiculous amounts of money for just a video message, but Goddamn, that's why I don't do them anymore, because they were too hard. Rick's taking them too easy.
Here's one that got a 3-star review from September. Ric Flair in a car. Let's go to this.
Oh, no. Not driving.
Woo! Happy birthday, Dell. This comes from Osseo Bio. Nature Boys Playground. Woo! I've strutted through steel cages, danced with danger, and kissed the canvas more times than you'll blink your eyes. You think you're ready for hand-to-hand combat with the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun on the steps of democracy? Oh.
What in the world is
The bigger man? Happy birthday, Dell, from Woo, the Nature Boy. God bless, stay strong, and keep making the girls go woo all night long.
That got a 3-star review, and he has cuts all over his face in every one of these videos, just weird cuts. Here's Ric Flair outdoors. Let's see what this one is.
Woo to Chris and Leanna from Dad and Heidi. Congratulations, getting married. That's phenomenal. I think that's the most awesome thing you could possibly do. My son Chris.
Oh, let me stop it there. That's a complete about face from the other video.
Well, I like the cameo, no pun intended, from the guy that walked by. Woo, there's Ric Flair.
Got more woos from other people in these videos so far than from Rick.
He's married the love of his life, Leanna. That's really important. The love of his life. That is absolutely a beautiful way to put it. He's been a wrestling fan all his life and has been to 5 WrestleManias, including a match with Shawn Michaels.
What?
In Orlando.
Oh,
well, I appreciate all that, man.
His match. I didn't know whose match.
Please wish him a happy marriage.
He's reading the instructions.
He's just reading.
It's like insert slot B into tab A.
Turn over now.
Through life as they tie the knot. God bless you both. Dad, thanks for reaching out to me. I haven't been very successful in marriage. Doesn't mean you can't be.
Oh, there you
I
go.
was traveling all the time doing what I do. Which the only thing I can do is wrestle. You guys have got a great opportunity to have a great marriage and a great life. Love and respect you. Dad and Heidi, thanks for reaching out. Chris and Leanna, stay strong, get married, be faithful, love each other, and Chris, make Leanna go woo every day of the week.
All right, that wasn't too terrible.
I was about to say, what poisoned him between now and then on the marriage
That was
principle?
June. Sometime after June, he was like, fuck marriage. Don't do it. They get half. They'll take half. You get divorced as many times as he does. He gets a lot of halves. And one last one we'll play, because these are the official ones, I guess, that he uses as an example.
These are the demos.
This is one for a pep talk. Here's a Ric Flair pep talk.
He was about to give it to her, actually.
Adrian, Nature Boy here, man. Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, limousine riding, and private jet flying. My friend Adrian has been having a tough week. He's a hard-working guy who owns several small businesses and some haters are giving him some shit. Well, tell them to kiss your ass. Would you encourage him and tell him he is loved? Which obviously you are by
Speaking
your
in a
brother
third
Wade.
person. Would you encourage him? Would you? There's the past part of there's a participle dangling here somehow. Grammatically, this is not working out.
Oh, there's a little more of the pep talk here.
Your family, your friends, cook straight steaks, and they're great at video games. My brother, look at this shit from everybody else in life. Life, we own our life. We own our world. Unless they can kick your ass, tell them to go fuck themselves. God bless you, brother. Stay strong and keep being a man.
That's what God always says. That's what God always says. Go fuck yourself. Why are there always plates and bottles clinking in the background?
And other people doing woo in the background. It happened there again at the end. There were like two different women who obviously did it in the background.
But that's what I'm saying. Even if you possibly have not been overserved, the idea probably is not to do a cameo that you've been paid a lot of money for in a public restaurant with people around you doing backup woos.
I'm looking here. Like, again, these are the preview videos. One of them says other. And like a lot of them, like they begin with a shot of his face. He's filming himself, obviously. This one, it's a shot of the bar the other way, so you just see like where the drinks go. Although let me just click this just to see what it is.
Snacks. I'm like, okay, no carbs today.
Y'all are all snacks all the time.
When you have to walk,
Wooey! Tom Lang. And it's your boy. Comes from Brandon, Chris, and Andrew. And of course myself. Tom 66. Just finished cancer treatment. He's celebrating the 4th of July with family in Frankfort, Mississippi. Tom is a lifelong fan. Loves your classic woo.
See, that's what's you're paying for him to read back to you.
He should even say he loves my classic woo, but loves your classic woo.
I wonder if there's a way to like game the system. Like if you want to actually gift someone a Ric Flair message, like the way you word it so that he reads it back so that it actually sounds like he's saying it as opposed
Write
to...
it like you write his script for it. Well, but that didn't work out on the first one, I don't think.
I feel like he mentions the people who paid for it more than the people receiving it.
Well, and speaking of which, we say Ric Flair is suing people because his weed company went sideways. And somebody... Does Rick have managers, agents, handlers of various kinds doing his business? Or is he just getting into these things by himself? And you think maybe somebody in the family might say, Rick, don't over imbibe and send out public videos.
I'm going to do what I want, and I'm going to smoke this Panama Red. Woo!
But I mean, it is everybody in his immediate family and social circle just worried about the profitability of the projects and the enterprises he's getting into, and not whether he's making himself look bad in public or not?
You know, again, you brought up Bockwinkel earlier. Bockwinkel didn't need a handler. You know, he was a responsible guy. Who knows what he did in his private time? I'm not saying, you know, anything like he didn't have fun.
Well, no, he was, and a lot of people are going to say this. So let's say no, Nick Bockwinkel didn't have weed companies and vodka companies coming after him in his, you know, golden retirement years either. But that's the point I'm making, is that Nick Bockwinkel is kind of like what a grown-up Ric Flair would have been. Ray Stevens was his first half of his life, and Bockwinkel would have been the second half. But instead, Rick's just gone full Stevens.
I always thought it would have been old man Buddy Rogers.
Well, same principle. The fucking nice suits and everything's all in place and very smooth speaking, except Bockwinkel was really a lot more intelligent. I won't say a lot more educated and articulate person than Buddy Rogers was, but the look, the same thing.
Say that to my face, Pally.
Well, Pally.
Well, there's the Ric Flair cameo story. Obviously, it's a great deal for those of you looking for a Ric Flair experience. Apparently priced between $600 and $1,000 based on personal video, $500 plus. I guess there are caveats. But if you want to book a business video, it's $10,000.
Jesus Christ. Kind of does that cover the going out of business sale expenses?
See, how would you do that for a business? Because you can't really play that in a meeting and it's just him drunk in a bar reading what you wrote him. Your quarterly reports were great. Everything's looking good.
I've gone over your finances myself and everything. There's nothing to worry about. I don't know how you would get $10,000 of value for your business out of it, unless your business was goddamn vodka. And even then, maybe that might not be good for your vodka business. Oh, shit, we don't want to look like that.
Well, we'll see what happens with Ric Flair and his various business enterprises. Of course, this is his own. This is Cameo, and we'll see what happens.
This is... Anyway, if somebody can give Rick some advice on when he should not be on camera, that would be preferable. Because you know what it does, Brian? The whole thing, it just stinks. The whole situation just stinks out loud. You know what else stinks out loud? A lot of people these days. Have you noticed this, that a lot of people stink these days? I'm not talking about their attitude or their personality. I'm talking about the actual odoriferousness of them that you can smell coming down the road. You can smell it.
Well, it depends where you go.
Well, no, they're everywhere now. Because it's become it's like an epidemic. The BO epidemic of 2025 is now spread into 2026, but somebody's trying to do something about it, Brian, and you know as well as I do, it's our friends at Mando. Mando is trying to do something about this because everybody makes New Year's resolutions. You're going to work out. You're going to learn to speak some kind of language. You're going to lose weight, whatever. But one resolution that people have that is right within their reach right now is to smell better naked. And that's what the people at Mando are trying to help people do. Because, again, Brian, if you've got clothes on, then that can muffle some of the wafting of the stench. But if you're walking around naked, and even though it's wintertime, there are warmer climates. If you're walking around naked and a breeze comes up the right direction, it can catch that shit and you can clear out a public park. You've seen some of the video on the internet now of people walking down the street naked, minding their own business, and suddenly everybody in the park just starts running. That's because they caught a breeze and it wafted the wrong way, and whoo, the from under smell from under the balls and next to the taint, that'll run you right out of the place.
There was an article in the paper this morning about a naked bandit they caught on camera, like daytime, just running around naked, robbing people's houses.
Yes. And how do you think he's going to feel if the cops catch him and haul him down there and on his mugshot it clearly says arrested for robbery and stinking bad? You don't want that to be your legacy or your reputation, folks. And the Mando is a whole body deodorant that's safe to use all over your body. The pits, the balls, the thigh folds, the belly buttons, the butt cracks, the feet, the inner ear. A lot of people have stanky ears.
Not the inner ear. Let's stay to the outer parts of the body that you just named there before.
Well, no, and then I was going to say, what smells the worst? Usually, if you take this solid deodorant stick and just shove it right in, well, you can pull it back and you'll be covered up where your poops will smell like pretty flowers.
Okay, once again, pits, balls, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet. Safe to use anywhere on your body.
Yes, and once again,
on your body, not in your body.
The difference in on or in. How far do you have to go in a cave before that you're really in it rather than just adjacent? This is created by a doctor, and he ought to know better. Who saw first?
Listen, this is created by a doctor, Jim. You're saying the truth here now.
Yes, created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. And some of these doctors said, fuck, those underarms, we can't do anything. They have to literally take your flesh off because they can't get the stench out of your flesh on your underarms. And then you've really got armpits with no skin under there.
You're being misdiagnosed.
No longer do you have to have this stuff being lopped off, folks. because Mando is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. There was one incident where odor escaped after 2 nights because the guy turned his back, but Mando will send you this product and also a guy to keep an eye out for the odor.
Nope.
So he'll be watching you for 3 days.
No one's watching you, and they do not send anyone out. They trust the U.S. Postal
come
Service.
And give you the stick. When you get this stick, the solid deodorant stick that you know means that you're going to be palatable to a majority of human beings who are not going to retch and vomit when you walk into their social circle. It's formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. That's an acid that Nelson Mandela invented in prison.
That is not what that is. No, it is not.
You've heard of a lot of the people that are in prison for years. They study in the library to become lawyers. Well, he studied to become a stench doctor, where you can formulate the mandelic acid.
None of that is true, ladies and gentlemen. But why don't we talk about the variety of fresh scents like bourbon
that's
leather?
right, because a spray deodorant, not the solid deodorant stick, but the spray deodorant they have is aluminum free. That means you won't end up looking like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, and it's ideal for hard to reach places. We're going back there again: caves, grottos.
Grottos.
All the grottos in some places. It depends on how you take care of yourself if you've got grottos. All products are baking soda free, so don't try to make biscuits out of this son of a bitch, because it will not work. And paraben free. And as soon as we figure out what paraben is, we'll tell you. But you can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Pro Sport, and Mr. Fuji. I don't know why you'd want to smell like Mr. Fuji. He kind of had a little.
That says Mount Fuji, not Mr. Fuji.
Oh, Mount Fuji. I thought it was Mr. Fuji had a little. He had a little odor to him every once in a while after the matches, usually. But boy, this is clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. And when they let you add water, the soap does work better, but just soap alone ain't going to get you very far. But 12 hours after a shower, Brian, I'll have you know that the average man's grundle odor level is a 5 out of 10. Now, that grundle odor, that's named after, of course, a compatriot of ours, Brian Solomon, a.k.a. Solomon Grundy. He's had an issue with this for quite some time. That's why most of the relatives in his family pictures, their eyes are watering.
That is not true, and this has nothing to do with him. I don't know why he decided to defame other people that were friends with him today. Well, he's
fixed it now. When he came up with the grundle odor scale, now with Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10, 12 hours after a shower. Even a goddamn bloodhound couldn't smell you hiding in a mulberry bush. So right now, if you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant, where you can just slather this on from head to toe, and then you can have people throwing monkey shit at you, and it won't stink. It won't stick or stink. It'll fall right off, and you won't get any on you.
People are going to throw the monkey shit, not the monkeys?
Well, the people that throw the monkey shit, they're going to have some on their hands. But if they put some Mando on their hands before they start flinging the monkey shit, then their hands will be clean too. You can find the Mando products in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, you can go to shopmando.com. That's spelled just like Chavo Guerrero's brother's name, M-A-N-D-O, shopmando.com. And don't mask your scent, Mando it. They're not just going to cover it up. They're going to get rid of it. You will not be able to even smell yourself. If you stick your head between your legs and fart in your face, you won't be able to smell it after you use this Mando. Just go right now to shopmando.com. For a limited time, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. That code, and I'll tell you that code right now so you'll know it, JCE.
Yeah.
20% off and free shipping on the whole damn shooting match over there at shopmando.com. 20% off and free shipping. Support our show. Tell them we sent you. Stop smelling. Some of you people could gag a maggot off a gut wagon. That's not what we're going for. We need you presentable. especially when the Egyptians come to take Flair away. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains. I wonder if they'll work on shit stains. And hello to long-lasting freshness with Mando. You know, that is a good question, Brian. How far do you have to be in a cave before you're considered in the cave rather than just out on the outskirts? Did you just put the tip in? And you wouldn't smell bad anymore. Speaking of people who have a stinky reputation, did you see the special I'm Chevy Chase and You're Not on CNN over the New Year's weekend?
I most certainly did. I couldn't wait to see it.
And well, I could wait to see it because I'd heard about it, but I thought it was on the streaming shit. And so I said, well, I'll see it sometime. I didn't know it was just on something I could set the DVR on. So I found it on the CNN On Demand the day afterwards. And I caught up with it anyway. What do you think of Chevy?
That's a complicated question. And I don't even know him.
He's always been great to me.
I enjoy the hell out of some of his roles. Other of his roles or movies, maybe not so much. He seems, to me, from afar, to be a complete fucking asshole to everyone he encounters. And at one point when he was young and he had hair, it was charming. And then the older he got, it just seemed more like, no, he's just a mean asshole.
A mean old man. He's a mean old man.
But again, the catch is, in being a mean asshole, he's fucking hysterical. That's where it comes back around. Even when he's not trying to be hysterical now, he's hysterical unless he's always trying to be hysterical. And it's kind of this twisted, not Don Rickles, but this twisted insult humor where he just goes to your core and tries to fuck with you.
He's hysterical until he tries too hard, and then he gets into the mean grumpiness. But at the same time, it's almost impossible not to feel sorry for him in a way, because there were other people that testified, oh my God, he's one of the most caring, nicest individuals, and he has a good heart, and he was abused as a child, apparently legitimately, horribly abused, and he, blah, blah, blah. So you either love him because you have seen the carefully guarded inside, or most people just hate him because he's a fucking prick. But I think herein lies the problem. He's in two of my favorite all-time movies, Caddyshack and Vacation, right? And plus, he established not only Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, but the Daily Show, or any comedy newscast comes from Chevy Chase being the anchorman. So, but the thing is, he's like a lot of guys in the wrestling business. He can only get over being himself. Because they said he wasn't when he tried to do the talk show, host the talk show, the Chevy Chase show, he wasn't a stand-up comic. He could really do a monologue. He wasn't really an actor where he couldn't play different parts. He had to be Chevy Chase. And whether he was Chevy Chase being Clark Griswold or Chevy Chase being, Fletch or whatever, he had to be Chevy. And if he couldn't do that thing, it didn't work. So, I mean, that's not unusual in entertainment. Think about the wrestlers or the other actors sometimes, or musicians, that you just have to let them be them, and it doesn't work unless they're being them. And like you said, when he was young and he was hot, I don't mean hot in appearance, I mean hot popularity, they wrote roles for Chevy Chase in these movies. But then after a while, he got older, and it kind of got old to be Chevy Chase. And then he couldn't do anything else. He was like Bob Denver after Gilligan's Island, right?
To an extent. I mean, again, I think a lot of it was the film choices, his reputation. he had a very public feud with Howard Stern, like in the early 90s, which it kind of exposed a little bit of like Chevy's way of being. And it was kind of an exposure of like, this guy's a complete asshole.
He could be an asshole, but he couldn't take assholeish.
Right.
Against him. He didn't.
He has to be the chief asshole. If you even try to one-up him, there's going to be a problem. You remember Comedy Central did a celebrity roast of Chevy Chase at least 20 years ago, maybe a little more now at this point. And almost no one you would associate with Chevy Chase showed up. Like they had Lorraine Newman, Al Franken.
They had the person who has replaced Lorraine Newman, who looks nothing like Lorraine Newman. I think it's a body double.
Well, she's an older woman now, but.
Well, not all of her face is as old as the rest of her.
But yeah, he's a complicated, again, even just the decision to leave Saturday Night Live a year and a half into it. I mean, a year and a half is a pretty quick period of time. And he was gone, like right away.
Well, and so I was watching it every week at that point, and he was the hottest thing on television. And everybody was talking about him. And they even said in the documentary, that's another thing. He never worked hard on his career. He had other people tell him, oh, you should do this, you should do that, go to the movies, blah, blah, blah. He never took anything for the art's sake, for the, I want this role or I've got it. It was just, whatever. And I think that bit him too. And then again, like you said, he just came off so wrong to so many people that didn't get into his inner circle and know the real Chevy down deep. And the thing with Community, where nobody from that show wanted to be on, and finally they got the director whose last name I cannot pronounce.
Oh, that guy was great. That guy was great because he loved Chevy and he realized how fucked up Chevy was.
Yeah. And he didn't want to do it at first, but then he agreed to do the thing. But I love him, but yeah, he's fucking. But when he emitted the racial slur that followed him to the end of the show there, he was actually complaining about that the writers were making his character racist. But in saying, what am I going to do next? Say that. Then they all hated him anyways. They were, no, he's using that language. If they'd have liked him, there probably wouldn't be a problem because he was making a valid point as his contention is. But instead, they're like, oh, fuck this fucking guy.
No, they literally said that they would film his stuff first early in the day so they can get rid of him off the set and film the rest of the show. Which is remarkable for a hit show. I mean, that they would have to do that.
But it's once again, a very interesting look at a guy who you would have thought as big a star as he was at one point in time from 1975 through the end of the 80s, maybe.
No, to the mid-90s, even after the talk show. He was still a big star. Still a big star.
Well, that's right, because the talk show was 93 and he was still a big star. That's why he got it.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't as big a star afterwards. But the last 30 years, it's like, yeah. And the one show he was on that people were watching, he left and they didn't like him. So I hate that because he was such a figure at one point and he was the symbol of the new era of television, the counterculture, Saturday Night Live, the young people taking over. It's Chevy Chase. I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. And then, bleh.
And look at how things have flipped too. Saturday Night Live was the alternative to the world of the Carol Burnett show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now it is that.
Yeah.
Now that's exactly what it is. It's not the counterculture entertainment hour anymore, 90 minutes anymore.
Just because they made that remark in the documentary, they ought to have Carol Burnett on Saturday Night Live next week.
She's still alive. She still does MeTV commercials where she's talking to Perry Mason. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I said they should have her. I didn't expect they were going to go dig her the fuck up. What do you think I'm saying to you here? Yeah, they ought to have a dead person on Saturday Night Live next week.
Is Vicki Lawrence alive?
They'll need to put Mando on him.
Is Vicki Lawrence alive?
Well, she was pretty frisky the last time I went over to her place, but
there
it is. Hey, that was the night the lights went out in Burbank, baby.
Hey, listen here. You mentioned Vacation. You mentioned Caddyshack. Can't argue classics. I know almost every line to those movies. You didn't say Fletch.
I did say when Chevy he was Fletch or he was Clark Griswold or whatever. I liked the first Fletch.
The second one, no. The second one's the beginning of the end of Chevy's film career, if you really want to think about it. Funny Farm and Fletch 2, yeah.
Fletch Lives or whatever it was.
Fletch Lives, that's right, right, yeah.
But
Nothing But Trouble.
Yes.
Did you ever see Nothing But Trouble with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy and Demi Moore and John Candy? I don't
think so.
Where Dan Aykroyd plays the old judge, kind of looks like Ric Flair now, plays the old judge, and then he also plays like these two giant-sized babies, and Chevy and Demi Moore get stuck in Vulcanvania in this crazy house with garbage and shoots, and they have a roller coaster that eats people.
Okay, maybe we've now come to another reason why Chevy's career.
He's a stockbroker, and he's trying to get to Atlantic City, and he gets pulled over, and he ends up in Vulcanvania.
I don't care if they liked him or not. He could have been Mother Teresa, and that movie would have still bombed.
Caddyshack 2, that's one of the worst movies ever. That's one of the most disappointing, awful movies ever.
And you know, Chevy's got a wrestling connection, kind of, because he had injuries from all those bumps that he took. Because as a matter of fact, didn't he had to take, this was big news at one time on the first season of Saturday Night Live. He had to take a couple of shows off because he fucked himself up some kind of way taking one of the bumps.
He phoned in from the hospital. I remember
That's
that
right.
when they were on the show.
That's right.
And the girl sang a song to him.
Oh, Chevy, we love when you fall down.
That's right.
It's Saturday night on my TV. Oh, but Chevy, every time that you fall down, I wish that you were falling for me.
Yeah.
See there?
That's impressive. I mean, that's how big a star he was so quickly. And again, he just walked off the show, which created a spot for Bill Murray, who then tried to punch out Chevy when Chevy returned. Because the rest of the cast, they didn't even go into the fact that, like, Garrett Morris is like, oh, me and Chevy were always like this. Well, the rest of the cast fucking hated him at various points, to the point where they were having fistfights right before airtime.
And I don't know, you know, Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, that might have been evenly matched back then. They were both kind of fucking pale and pasty, and fuck, I'd give either one of them a shot.
I would have put my money on Bill Murray. Even though Chevy was kind of at his peak and he was a taller guy, Bill Murray grew up with a bunch of brothers.
Well, besides, Murray had more animosity behind it.
Yeah.
Chevy was the star and Murray was, you know, he was trying to get there.
Murray still had a mustache. He hadn't figured things out yet.
Anyway, well, you can see that on CNN if you're a Chevy Chase fan or ex-fan, or if you're somebody looking, I guess, for some kind of material on filing a lawsuit against Chevy Chase for doing something.
He was in Dirty Work, one of my favorite awful movies that gets better every time you see it because it's so funny and so stupid. It's stupid funny. It's Norm Macdonald and Artie Lang. And Chevy plays, and this is like in the late 90s. This is how far it had fallen by the point. He plays like a doctor who owes gambling money and needs to get these boys to do things because he won't help their sick dad unless they do it.
Needs to get these boys to do things.
Well, he's barely in the movie. He's only in like a few scenes, but like that's how far he had fallen by that point in the late 90s. The fact that he had gone from, you know, there weren't any more National Lampoon Vacations.
No, he was not able to afford the good vacations. He had to like do the Princess Cruise thing and sing in the lounge.
Like Vegas Vacation to me, I never liked, because that's in that period where Chevy I did like Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and everyone puts it down. And John Carpenter said it almost caused him to leave the film industry. He hated working with Chevy. That was the actual quote. Like, I hated working with him. I almost wanted to quit. Whatever it was. But I like that movie. I thought that movie was kind of cool. But I guess.
And he's 82 years old. Because I'm used to people being old now because I'm old. But he was 32 years old when he was a breakout overnight sensation on Saturday Night Live. So one would have thought, and it was true for many of them, that all those people were in their 20s and just the new fresh faces. But which goes to show you that he was a late bloomer. He hadn't done shit before he was 32, except being the first incarnation of Steely Dan in college.
It is one of the more. That's another one weird little tidbit where, it's like, oh yeah, I was at Bard College and me and Fagan and Becker got together and started a band. Like, what?
I wouldn't have believed it, but they had video.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's a real story. Christopher Guest was apparently there because what did the guy say when he ran into Christopher Guest and he's like, join the production we're doing? And the guy said, oh, I know Chevy. I can bring Chevy. He's like, we don't get along. Like, he didn't like Chevy at all.
But also he was in the Groove Tube, because that's one of my all-time favorite movies, early 70s movies, but just as one of the miscellaneous cast of madcap players that was in it. Anyhow.
And now they're honest about the cocaine. I mean, they had a good amount of cocaine stories. They could have had more. But remember when they did the roast, Al Franken, he killed me with this. He came out there and he goes, you may remember in the mid-'80s, Chevy was brave enough to announce publicly that he was going away because of his addiction to back pills. And I remember back in the old days of Saturday Night Live, I remember the guy who used to bring Chevy's back pills to the show. His name was Ronnie Sunshine. And Chevy loses it for a second. He was in like complete control, no selling everything. That got him. Back pills.
Well, some of our sponsors have, no, that would have been a good segue, but we have no sponsors that sell the back pills on today's program. But, Brian, as a segue here, we've heard Ric Flair saying people should never get married. We've heard people saying that Chevy Chase was an asshole. Now what happens if you're an idiot with a brother that wants to get married and you've got to do a video? You don't go to Ric Flair. You don't go to Cameo. You go to some random schmo with a phone and you have them record it, and it still might not always go according to plan if Darby Allin is involved. Have you seen this clip where they tried to reenact the Pink Floyd album cover of the guy shaking hands with the guy that's on fire?
Wish you were here. That's right.
Yeah, well, they didn't wish they were there. Apparently, and this is on the internet again, I'm not sure exactly where you have to go to find this little 15 seconds of footage or whatever, but Darby Allin's brother was going to propose marriage to his intended betrothed financier, fiancé, whatever. And they got somebody to record it, and Darby apparently and his brother got together and figured that the best way they could do this is if they bring this poor girl, this woman that is the intended victim of all this. They brought her to where were they? Is it like an empty swimming pool? They're in a giant concrete bowl, like a swimming pool has been drained of water, or a skate park.
Maybe a skate park, yeah.
Because they're in a big concrete bowl, and the girl doesn't know why she's been brought there. And I can't believe those two actually got a female to go to a goddamn deserted location with them. Darby's brother gets down on one knee to start to ask the girl, will you marry me? And Darby sets the son of a bitch on fire. Am I lying so far, Brian?
No, the brother was lit on fire.
And when Darby lights the brother on fire, the brother then is going to do the fucking proposal while he's kneeling there on fire. But from what it looked like to me watching the video, the girl said, what the fuck is happening? And ran off. She ran off away from now the guy's kneeling there on fire, reaching out to the hand of the betrothed that he's trying to do the proposal. And she's running. She's like screaming, running away. And then the guy realizes, well, shit, I'm on fire. And he jumps up and starts dropping and rolling in a concrete goddamn dry swimming pool. It's not like he's rolling in grass or dirt, or he's just rolling on concrete and he's still burning. And they come in with a fire extinguisher and put his fucking ass out. Now, I don't know how that turned out as far as the proposal went. Did she scream back from the rim of the pool, fuck you, I ain't married you, you fucking idiot. You just gave me a heart attack. Or did she accept once they put him out and he stopped smoldering? Or what?
Well, I have the original post here that Darby Allin put up. I'm watching it on a loop right now on Instagram. On Instagram, Darby Allin wrote, "Marriage proposal gone wrong. My brother wanted me to light him on fire." and haven't we all said that out loud?
Yes, especially at family gatherings.
My brother wanted me to light him on fire and asked his girlfriend to marry him. She got cold feet and took off running instead of putting him out with the fire extinguisher.
Wait a minute. What is he trying to say? It was her job to put him out?
Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe it wasn't to be. No, meant. Maybe it wasn't to be.
To be or not to be, burned alive. So they're blaming the poor girl because she didn't. How would you know if you didn't know what was coming that you're supposed to? And what order does it come in? Do you say yes and then put the guy out with the fire extinguisher? Or do you put him out first and then say yes? What's the protocol?
By the way, fire extinguisher, she's holding like a white bottle, not the red classic fire extinguisher. She tries to hand it to Darby, who won't take it. She puts it on the ground and runs away. Is that the fire extinguisher?
That must be the fire extinguisher. So they handed this poor girl a fire extinguisher. This guy kneels down in front of her and the other guy sets him on fire. What would you do?
What if this was the big reveal that he was crazy? Like, what if somehow, like, he met a girl, she thought she was dating some, maybe a little weird, but, kind of normal. He has a job or something. Maybe he has some good records. I don't know. And then, like, one day they're just walking down the street, all of a sudden lights himself on fire. You got to really love someone to say, yes, I'll marry you, fireman.
I'll marry you, Human Torch. Flame on!
I'm watching it again. There he goes rolling. She goes running away in one direction. He goes rolling the other direction.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe it wouldn't have worked out because if your wife sees you on fire and she runs away from you rather than, I don't know, take her top off and fucking smother the flames, whatever. I don't know.
That's a real test of love.
What would you do?
That is a real test. Like, either she'll marry me, or she'll put me out, or she'll just not do any of these things, and she's not the
or
one.
Put me out. If you won't either marry me or put me out when I'm on fire,
she chose let
you
him
ain't the woman
burn.
For me.
She chose let him burn and run.
And I mean, we're laughing, but this is.
Darby's pointing at her brother. He's like, put him out, put him out. The girl just drops the thing and runs.
But now, come on now, straighten up here now, because we're laughing, but in all seriousness, these are not like 17-year-old kids that you can, they'll grow out of it. They're fucking morons, but we're all morons. We're teenagers, whatever. How old is Darby Allin now? 30-something years old. And I don't know if was his brother an oversight, when the family, they thought they were done. Is he a young fucking idiot or is he about the same age? They thought this would be a good idea on any level. So is it time that we stop thinking, well, he's just a goofy kid and start to realize, no, he's just a goofy fucking adult?
32 years old.
Does the average 32-year-old guy think that it would be a good idea to set his brother on fire for a marriage proposal? Unless you're Johnny Knoxville or the fellow that used to tuck his dick, whatever his name was.
I don't know. I think Johnny
Dick
Knoxville's
Tucker.
a big...
Old Dick Tucker.
I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who old Dick Tucker is, but...
Well, after these jackass people, they got to be goddamn old now, the ones that are still alive and haven't killed themselves.
Well, that obviously...
Would they be the only people that would think this was a good idea that's over the age of 17 3/4?
Probably. I mean, maybe they had a really great idea. I don't know. Maybe he was going to roll into the woods and start a forest fire. I really don't know.
There's no fucking woods. I didn't see a ladder. I don't know how they got down there. There's no water. There's no hose. There's one fire extinguisher, and there's not even a goddamn ladder to get out of that place. They wanted to make sure that nobody else caught fire while he burned to death.
Now, to be fair, he hasn't died yet. And we've seen him. Has he been lit on fire? I know his brother's been lit on fire. Darby's been thrown off.
They set Darby on fire.
Okay,
remember, a couple times.
He's been on fire a few times.
Yeah,
he's been thrown off all sorts of things from high distances, and we've seen him jump houses and cars. We've seen him.
I think being high has a lot to do with all of this.
No, he's drug free apparently. That's the problem. He needs to get high, and then to be like, "What the fuck am I doing with my life?"
If ever there was a poster boy for please take drugs, it would have to be this fucking guy.
Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe Sting could talk to him, but
Can you imagine if Dusty had come in at the first Clash of Champions and said, okay, we wanted you and Flair to go for an hour, but goddamn, we don't have the time. So go 44 minutes and then we're going to get the flamethrower. He'd have been, what?
The idea that the woman that he felt he loved so much he was going to ask to marry him, that her reaction was to Darby pointing at him saying, put him out, with the thing they just handed her clearly. Her reaction was, oh my God, let me hand this to you. You won't take it. I'm going to put it on the ground and run away. She didn't try to do anything to help this guy. This guy could have burned to death. The cops would have shut him in. What happened?
And they would have pointed the finger at her. It's her fault. He was begging her to put him out. Who would be ascribed blame in a situation like that when the cops get there?
Oh, that's interesting.
The guy's burned to a crisp, but Darby can say, well, no, he asked me to do it. Well, but at the same point, if you go over to the fucking park and just in the middle of broad daylight say, hey, would you take this gun and shoot me? And you shoot the guy, does that mean when the cops get there, oh, well, he asked you to do it? Okay, well, no worries then. Go on about your business.
Yeah, and, when productions do something, usually, they go through the right channels. It's not just, hey, I can light people on fire wherever I want because they said
there's actually trained professionals and or crew members and or people standing by with safety measures and or a professional film crew, not some jack-off slacker wannabe with a fucking iPhone shooting two morons at the bottom of a swimming pool setting each other on fucking fire. So again, did she violate some kind of good Samaritan law? She's in front of a guy who's been set on fire. She's holding a fire extinguisher. She chose not to act. I think she's an accomplice. I think they're all going to jail.
Your Honor, she had no idea what they handed her. She didn't know what it was. She thought it could have been lighter fluid. These two brothers are crazy. They're always lighting things on fire. They helped light this guy Swerve's house on fire. They've been lighting all sorts of things on fire.
Yeah,
she had no idea.
Goddamn arsonist wrestling is what we've got here. These people are all firebugs. I don't know that that's the right way to start a life together off anyway. Do you?
I feel like we see him do more like private, I don't know if you call them angles. We see him do more private angles than we do like him do stuff on AEW TV. Whenever he's off AEW TV, he's never like he's gone. It's always like, oh, let's see what adventure he's on social media.
See, remember like when Doug Basham came into my OVW TV with a bald head and I cussed and screamed at the fucking writers. Well, I cussed and screamed at Johnny Ace through him to the writers for not telling me so I could have booked a hair match. Here's what they should have done. They should have come to television and they should have had Darby turn heel by setting his own brother on fire while he's trying to propose to his wife. And then Darby could reveal, I've always wanted her. And he set the son of a bitch on fire so that he could have her. What a heel he'd be. They just wasted it. Oh, well.
Well, at least you shared the idea if Tony changes his mind.
Well, see, now it's been done, though. And he's going to have to wait till his brother finds another girl that'll talk to him because they scared this one off. Speaking of scaring women off, Brian, there's another, well, I won't say another, there's a happily married couple over in the WWE that neither one of them had to set the other on fire to get the wedding accomplished. And that's Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Did you ever remember hearing either of them got set on fire at the wedding or anything, the proposal, the honeymoon? I understand there was some smoke on the honeymoon.
I haven't heard anything about any arson.
Friction, you understand. You get going too fast. But apparently, our friend Seth Rollins, Brian, not happy with me or our friend Shitstain, a.k.a. Vince Russo. This was while we were on break. Seth did an interview with somebody somewhere for some reason and was asked to compare the two of us, me and old Vinny Roo. And although I came out the best of it, because old Vinny Roo was without any redeeming quality whatsoever, I got a caveat or two and a couple of nice things, but apparently Becky's still mad at me for saying that she was crazy when she got pregnant a couple of years ago while she was making more money than the federal government had ever printed before, right in the middle of the biggest run of her life. And boom, self-inflicted injury, unforced error. She's on the sidelines. I said, what the fuck? Rotten timing. And boy, that must have made an impression. Because my former friend, old Tyler Black, has not been able to come out with a full-throated endorsement of me since then. So he's obviously trying to keep everything nice and placid at home. But should Becky really be that mad at me for what I said? I didn't say anything personal about him. Otherwise, she just cost the family millions of dollars. But I didn't think she'd take it that fucking hard.
Well, you don't think this is just him being mad on his own?
No. And he wouldn't have said anything good about me at all. Well, did you listen to the tone of things going on? And
we have the audio.
That's why I'm saying you can determine for yourself whether you think that he is classifying both of us the same way or whether he's just trying to say enough about me to keep the things, again, nice and calm at the homestead.
Oh, well, we'll see about that. This is Seth Franklin Rollins talking to Jay Moore. Apparently Jay Moore has a show, and the name of the show is More Stories.
Who is Jay Moore?
He's a comedian.
He played Dennis the Menace on television, didn't he?
That was Jay North.
Jay North. Oh, I'm thinking of Tonto on The Lone Ranger.
No, Jay Moore's a comedian.
That was Jay Silverheels.
Well, he's now married to Jeannie Buss, who's the head of WOW, Women of Wrestling.
Who? Seth Franklin Rollins is married Jeannie Buss now? I thought he was still married to Becky.
Jay Moore, I believe.
Seth Rollins married Jay Moore?
All right, let's go to the audio. Here's Seth Rollins.
But I did have like a high school teacher that said, you're never going to work with that voice. You have to learn how to speak like a normal person. And years later, when I was on The Nanny and they interviewed my parents, they asked my parents if when I was a little kid,
who the fuck is
it seemed like I had.
That's Seth Rollins. Couldn't you tell?
Oh, boy, Becky has really emasculated him.
See, that's Seth Rollins. But no, let's go to the real audio here. Seth Rollins on a Jay Moore show.
Whose side are you on? Jim Cornette, the tennis racket guy?
Cornette, yeah.
Jim Cornette versus the Vince guy, the writer?
Russo?
Yes.
So I hate them both.
Cornette says, when I
hate them both. I think they're both jackasses. But if you had to pick, if you were gun to your head, which one would you side with?
As a fan, I mean, I kind of want to hang out with Cornette a little more.
So I've hung out with Cornette because Cornette was a booker of mine. No, he was fine. He's super entertaining. I mean, the guy, I mean, he can still cut a promo. He's a victim of the hot take culture where he has to say the craziest thing that could come to his brain. And that's how he makes his money on his podcast.
George the Animal Steel has Down syndrome.
So yeah, but he's like
Shockwave is the GOAT.
He's an idiot. Shockwave.
Fucking Joe.
They're both idiots, but if I had to pick one, it'd be Cornette.
See, a clear endorsement for me right there. And he said what he had to say to placate Becky, who's still wounded, I'm sure, about what I had said about their spawn.
He said, I hate them both. He hates you. He just said he hates you.
But then he said nice things about me.
I hate him, but if I think about it, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Fuck, I gotta say nice things if I really think about it. But I hate him.
How can I say this without making my wife mad, but at the same time stick somewhat to the truth?
I could right now be in TNA waiting for the big AMC debut.
But I do agree with him. Varusso's not entertaining, and I am. So, see, we found common ground again, Seth and I.
Before you even get more of what Rollins had to say there, how'd you like the way the question was set up? What is your take on Jim Cornette, the tennis racket guy, and the Vince guy?
The Vince Ryder guy. This guy's obviously a wrestling expert that, is really going to ask the hard questions of, was this some type of media production for him to, I guess, what's he selling? Surgery? He's off. He's hurt. He's injured. What was he selling or advertising on this appearance?
I don't know.
Just himself, apparently.
I guess he just had time on his hands, and he's getting paid
too
one way or
much
the
time
other.
on my hands, ticking away.
He'll probably do a lot more interviews.
I love Seth. What a talent he is. He's tremendous, and yes, he's correct. I was and continue to be very entertaining.
Is he correct that he hates you? Do you think he really hates you?
I don't think so. I don't think if we were in the same room together and he had a blunt instrument in his hand, I don't believe that he would cave my skull in. I would think that there would be other people standing in line to do that well before Seth Rollins.
Don't you think if he came up to you and wanted to start shit, you can take out his legs pretty easily because they're all fucked up?
Well, see, I would feel bad about doing that because I've had the knee problems before. It would make me all skeevy to take out somebody else's bad knees. I would just, like you just did, remind him that he'd still be waiting on the AMC premiere if it hadn't been for me down here in TNA. And then, who paid for that kid? Huh? While your wife was off and unproductive. Who paid for that kid? That's right. It was what I did for you, pal. No, but I'm sure he's still, again, placating his domestic situation while begrudgingly admitting that.
Then he would say, he said it before somewhere. I don't even remember where, but it was, I'm mad at Jim Cornette right now, or something like that. Yeah. It was kind of very casual. I'm not happy with him. Not, I hate him. That's another jump. And it's not big. It's not a big compliment. I hate him, and I'd save him over Vince Russo. Is that a big compliment to you?
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show that even the threat of Becky Lynch giving him a proper tongue lashing when he got home after that interview, he still had to say something good about me. So I'd imagine if she wasn't around and she wasn't mad at me, he'd be effusive with praise for me.
Well,
there you go.
We'll see. I mean, thank God he got the WWE got out of that fucking Speedo, whatever he was wearing early in his career. But Jim, this is your show.
Back then he had a Speedo fucking physique, and now it's more of an elder statesman type of thing with the long pants. Well, but it is my show, and you know what, Brian? I'll tell you what. Just that interview that Seth Rollins did right there, it would have been all kinds of different if he didn't know that Becky Lynch was going to be listening to it. And what he should have done was before he left the house, he should have said, "Hey, Becky, I got a present for you. I want you to stick these in your ear, in your holes, and listen to them till I get home." And I'm talking about the Raycon everyday earbuds and the Raycon products that they have at buyraycon.com.
And the ear holes, just to be clear.
And the ear holes. Yes, they don't sell you ear holes. You've got to have those. If you don't have ear holes, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you, don't go to buyraycon.com because they won't be able to help you.
They make great gifts.
Well, the ear holes? Yeah, if you don't have some, you'll take them from anybody.
The essential open earbuds.
You'll be happy to see the son of a bitches come to you from any location. If you do not have ear holes, it's going to open up a whole new world for you to get some holes. And as a matter of fact, if you don't have ear holes right now, I'm sure that maybe if you take a flathead screwdriver and apply yourself, you could make some. But whatever you've got to do to modify your head so that you can get the new essential open earbuds from Raycon. Well, right there. And that's if Becky had been listening to those, she'd have been off in her own little world. Seth Rollins could have said how he really feels that I'm a genius and that he owes everything in his career to me, and everything would have been right with the world. So that's what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go after these more expensive brand of earbuds, because you know what? The Raycons are half the price because they're not at Raycon. They're not paying for these celebrity endorsements, just me. They're not paying all the retail markup prices that you get where you go to sell them at these big box retailers and everybody's got their hand out wanting to take a piece. Well, things fall off the truck and get sold for discounts and somebody else gets the money. Don't go to a retailer. Go straight to Raycon, because Raycon, none of that big box store stuff, none of the second hands dipping into the till. They've got a crew of very dedicated people selling these things at high schools across the country and parking lots out of a Ford Econoline van. And that's the way that they can keep the price half of what the more expensive brands are.
That's not the way. That's the way you would think, because the deals are such the deal itself. The deal. You're being offered a great deal, and that happens because of the efficiency and the way things are going with the company. They have no sort of
low overhead,
second grade outfit.
Low overhead is what they got, because, and even though gas is expensive, those Ford Econoline vans, they do get better gas mileage than one would think, because they were made before all of the.
Once again, we're talking about the essential open earbuds. I found my box here. I have mine here on the desk.
When you go down to the bad part of town and you look around the corner, leaning up on the tree for your local Raycon guy, and he spreads that raincoat out, you're going to see an array of vibrant colors on these head earphones, the likes of which you've never seen before.
Oh, certainly, of course.
Yes. Well, see, on the right side of his raincoat, when he spreads that out, that's the colors. And on the left side, when he spreads that out, that's where he keeps the essential open
Ladies
earbuds.
And gentlemen, there will be no man with a raincoat.
Just whether it's the left or the right side, just watch out for the middle. That's the only, you got to stay away from the middle and you'll be all right.
Jim, let's talk about what we always say. We love Raycon earbuds here in this house. I have the box right here. I don't have the earbuds because my daughter stole them, because they love them and I love them and I wish I had them, but they were stolen.
Do you know where your daughter's ears are right now? You can go find them and get them back. I bet you, especially at your size, you'll be able to whip her.
First of all, I would never do that. Second of all, I am doing a show with you. I'm kind of busy. I'm preoccupied.
Well, but take back what's yours. That's what, every time Stacy takes these things, I have to wait till she goes to sleep, and then I sneak in there on my hands and knees and I pluck them out of her ears. The Essential Open Earbuds, they have the open ear design so you can hear your music and you can also hear the world around you at the same time, so that you'll be aware whenever a vehicle is bearing down on you or a tree is going to fall on your head. And the multi-angular hook allows you to switch between your phone and a laptop without repairing. Or actually, if you want to repair your laptop, mine's on the fritz a little bit. If you can repair laptops, then maybe drop me a message.
Pairing via Bluetooth. Repairing via Bluetooth.
Well, I don't care what you use to fix it as long as it gets fixed. Folks, they're lightweight with the flexible ear hook that adapts to any ear for all-day comfort and awareness, any ear at all. Now, I'll tell you what, you're going to have a problem if you try to put these things on a pig, because those little pig ears have got hardly anything to grip onto, but you might have to use a little Scotch tape. But most human ears, you're all set. And of course, the 36 hours of battery life with the 8 hours of playtime, 36 hours of battery with the charging case, and the multi-point connectivity that connects to multiple devices and switches seamlessly without the hassle. So you can just go back and forth all day long. You can listen in on the neighbors' conversations, and then you can check out what's going on C-SPAN. And then you can...
That's not how it works. But once again, getting back to where we came from, Raycon, the brand new earbuds, the ones you need, the ones we love here in this house, and they love at Castle Cornette. Jim,
I'm willing to go back to where I came from, but I'm going to have to ask my mother if you can go back to where I came from. She might have a problem with that. Folks, the Essential Open Earbuds are here to help you crush your New Year goals. Go to BuyRaycon, that's BuyRaycon, BuyRaycon.com/JCE Open. And you're going to get 20% off site-wide. 20% off just going to BuyRaycon.com/JCE Open. Our fine sponsors at Raycon will then fix you up with some things to plug up your holes. And boy, howdy, I just watch when you sneeze, they could become dangerous projectiles.
No, we're at the end of the spot. No, they can't. No, they won't. And again,
well, just make sure you take your Sudafed.
Just take whatever you need to take, and don't worry about projectiles. Don't worry about great sounds. Expect great sounds. They will be there. From our friends at Raycon, one more time.
Don't
Jim.
worry, be happy. And just once again, if you have to sneeze, just watch it. Maybe put your hands over your ears, because you don't want to put somebody's eye out.
Not going to happen. Not something you need to worry about. One more time, Jim, without any more information, because we've overloaded the listeners with so much information. That promo code.
Well, they've got information overload. BuyRaycon.com/JCE Open, 20% off site-wide. You will be overloaded with savings on the Raycons.
There we go. Some more Seth Rollins laughing at us.
All righty. Speaking of laughing at people, should we start talking about the AEW pay-per-view? I mean, it happened as we sit here now about 9 or 10 days ago, and people know the results of the matches, and I could really give a shit what the results of the matches were, but it was newsworthy more for the commentary that we have to make, and commentary that some other industry professionals have already made, on the fact that these dipshits are going to kill themselves if somebody doesn't rein them in. And this was the theme of the show. All night long was who's going to get hurt the worst. It was like a competition that they were trying. And again, especially, and we'll talk about poor old Kyle Felcher here in a second, but especially him, I'm astonished that he's not a quadriplegic. And this is not some wise ass that's never been in the ring and never sniffed a goddamn knee pad is going to say, well, that's because they know what they're doing. They're professionals. Cornette just won't admit it. It was sheer dumb fucking luck that this guy walked away from this move. Dumb fucking luck. And I'm not the only one saying it because it's obvious. But the AEW fans go crazy as either it's the old people that don't know about today's modern wrestling, or it's, well, they don't say anything about the WWE when yes, we do. We do. We talk about it all the time when everybody drops each other on their fucking head. So that argument is at best. It's a bunch of fucking guys that don't realize what they're doing to themselves or the business, because the accumulated damage that they are suffering is going to bite them in the ass one of these days, but one of these big moves will be an immediate ass bite when the guy can't get it. Well, they've already had people that couldn't get up and had to be carted off. At least nobody's been permanently paralyzed. This was the closest they've come. But it's not just going to bite them in the ass sooner or later, but it damages the business because you've got these goofy fans watching these goofy wrestlers get up from shit that if they were working it, they ought to stay down for a month and sell the fucking angle and draw some money, but they pop back to their feet because they're scared they might not be able to get up. And they jump back up and do some more shit. Oh, I'm okay. And then the fans just, well, that didn't hurt anybody. So next time he's got to fall 20 feet instead of 10, or it's got to be even more dangerous. And then eventually the prophecy will fulfill itself. So not only has Tony again delivered another masturbatory Meltzer fantasy where everybody went 20 minutes or more and did every goddamn move they could do and nothing beat anybody, and the basics and the overall work of everybody involved in these things was the shits, but the danger level was off the charts and they hit half the things they tried. So Uncle Dave thinks everything's 6 stars. And meanwhile, it was the same thing as always. 5 hours or more of nonstop chaos and bullshit amongst heels versus heels, baby faces versus baby faces, people who are not affiliated with each other in any way, just being thrown together for multiple man matches and tournament. So would you like to hit the high points before we talk about the meat of the matter, Brian?
Yeah, I'm surprised you watched any of this. I watched the pay-per-view. I didn't expect you to. So I'm pretty surprised that you checked out a good deal of this.
Not a good deal. When MJF won the belt, which we knew he was going to because that's the only thing they could have done, I knew I was going to watch that match. But then when I saw some of the other clips, I was like, my God, and the thing with Kyle. And I said, all right, what I'm going to do is, since I've got this whole thing, I'm going to zip through in a couple of these matches. I'm going to just drop in on and see if there's any hope for any of these people. You'll never guess what the answer is. But the pre-show, Brian, you need to help me with a little bit, because the pre-show, of course, that's where they put on a show before the show. And they had 4 matches on the pre-show this time. Julia Hart and Blue Sky beat Hyan and Maya World. Now, these are the 2 that they brought in when the other 2 girls wouldn't do the job for 2 other girls.
Oh, that's
here
right.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've never heard these names said out loud. I just read the results of the pre-show. So is this a girl named Hyan and a girl named Maya World, or are these the World sisters, Hyan and Maya?
I don't know for sure. It's definitely
Does anybody else?
It's definitely Maya World, and the other one I presume was.
And you're welcome to it.
I presume the other one was Hyan.
Hyan. Hi-yo. Well, that happened. Eddie Kingston beat Zach Gibson. I know they were probably celebrating in Vegas. Mascara Dorito and Bandito teamed up to beat Fat Ass Davis and Rocky Romero. And then they had the obligatory 8-man tag team match where Hong Kong Phooey, Kevin Knight, Jungle Jack Off, and Dino apparently beat Ricochet, his two stooges, and Josh Alexander, who were in two different heel groups. And Dino is hurt, so they put him in the match, but they covered it up some kind of way. That was the pre-show. Then the pay-per-view started, and we don't have to go too long into the pay-per-view before we get to the meat of the matter. For one thing, the first match was the semifinal of the Continental Breakfast Tournament. Oh, boring and take a shit. One-on-one, this long-awaited grudge match where they've stared at each other and made faces at each other while they lost the power of speech. Oh, boring beat him. I swear to God, Tony Khan has spent millions of dollars for these lazy, broken down, no good, nothing happening Japanese ex-superstars, with Okada being the biggest example of getting nothing for a lot. He's lazy. He doesn't try. He can't talk. He can't work. If ever, Ernie Ladd's words, "You're stealing" from AEW Wrestling were more applicable, I can't imagine. And then they got our boy Take, that at least he's got the size, he's got the youth, he's not broken down yet. With a proper manager, he could fucking be a top heel. And they beat him with this fucking guy.
Well, again, it's a tournament. They want to set up Okada, the previous champion, going to the finals. We could discuss his championship, the unified title, when we get to that match.
Well, and then the second match in the tournament was Moxley, our friend Dick the Boozer, against Kyle Felcher. Same thing with Kyle. We compared him a couple weeks ago to Austin Theory. Theory's got all the advantages. Theory's a better worker right now. Theory has better minds around him. Theory's in a better group. Theory's got Paul Heyman. Poor Kyle's out here on his own having 25-minute 5-star classics with fucking Steamboat's daughter. But at least he's young and he's got athletic potential and he looks good at blah, blah, blah. You don't want Kyle in your finals of your tournament. You don't want Take a Shit, the finals of your tournament. You want Dick the Boozer, the world's worst pushed wrestler, and the laziest son of a bitch on your roster. So again, every time Tony has a decision to make, he makes the wrong one. But in this one, this is where Moxley nearly killed Kyle. And what I did was, with these matches, I knew they were going 20 minutes or more, so I would let them ring the bell and I'd skip ahead 15 minutes, see what I could see. And they went way over 20 in this thing, but as they were doing it, Brian, you tell me, because I don't know. I've only been watching wrestling 50 years. Moxley gets behind, they're on the top turnbuckle. Kyle's sitting on the top buckle. Moxley climbs up behind him, gets Sergeant Slaughter's Cobra Clutch on Kyle, and then stands up and back suplexes him with a Cobra Clutch hold on, like a superplex off the turnbuckles. And he drove him right down in the middle of the ring on top of his fucking head. But what was it supposed to be? What bump was he supposed to take? I legitimately don't know. Was Kyle supposed to go all the way over and land on his stomach? Well, then that was a stupid fucking move because it doesn't really make sense with the way that he had him, that'd be the only safe way to take it, but that it wouldn't look right. And the only other way to take this bump would have been the way they did, which would be, I'm going to jerk you off the top rope 10 feet in the air and drop you in the middle of the ring on top of your fucking head. So, Brian, did you have any kind of epiphany on what this was supposed to be before it went so dangerously, allegedly wrong?
No, I don't think there's a safe bump. You know, if you think about it, like you said, the best case scenario is he flips all the way around, lands on his belly. But that wasn't.
And that would be stupid and not even a natural reaction of the move that he was being given.
No, it really didn't look good. Also, the other thing is, it wasn't the finish. It wasn't even a necessary thing. It'd be one thing, we're going to do the craziest thing ever. It's the finish. I'm not saying that justifies it. This was just another move on the way to the finish.
Well, and that's the thing is, you had Okada and Take a Shit. It looked like synchronized swimming underwater with fake strikes and horrible basics and sloppy shit and no facials except for the goofy faces. And then they botched the finish where in the Continental Classic is supposed to be no interference. Okada goes to use the screwdriver, but they got their timing off and he missed him the first time and had to hit him the second time. And the referee had to turn his back for no reason twice. And the fans bullshit booed it. But then this thing with Moxley and Kyle, and by the way, they're suddenly cheering Moxley now because even though he has not turned or done anything, because again, this is the first two matches on the show were heels versus heels. So now they're cheering for Moxley. The guy that's been pouring bleach down people's throats for a year, and we never did find out what the fuck the whole goddamn Death Riders thing is. And now they're the good guys because the fans are bored and picking who they're going to cheer for themselves. And when you've lost control enough to where the fans are just cheering for the people they like, regardless of the presentation, you've made a tragic error to begin with. But in this match, that was the thing, the suplex right on top of his head. You couldn't determine as a professional what he was supposed to be trying to do to him because there was no bump out of this to take. But you could have told the fans after they saw this, if Kyle had laid there and got beat and they sent the doctors in, you could have told people he was a quadriplegic and they would have believed it. But after 30 seconds of both of them selling, they both popped up and did shit back and forth like nothing was wrong. And Kyle hit a brain buster and got a 2 count. And then they did, Moxley hit him with a DDT and got a 2 count. Hit him with another DDT and got a 2 count. After this goddamn near fatal thing off the top rope. And then after all that, Moxley got the choke on him, held him stationary in the ring for more than 30 seconds, and the referee rang the bell. So the same guy that's going to win just hit the guy with his finish twice that didn't work after nearly killing the son of a bitch, and that didn't beat him. And then he just chokes him out in a boring finish in the middle of the ring in 25 fucking minutes. So that was our first 2 matches. I'm sorry, but that was the first 2 matches just because of this tournament fixation that Tony has. Heel versus heel. His young prospective superstar almost was made a cripple for the rest of his life. And out of being able to pick two young guys that can go and aren't being paid a fortune, or two old guys who are embarrassing and are being paid a fortune, he beat the two young guys. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And some of this was set up in the previous match. Okada and Takeshita really picked up at the end. I started getting into it. All right, let's see what they're going to do. And then I groaned when Okada went to the corner and pulled out the screwdriver, which is the stupidest foreign object that's a regular foreign object used by a team of wrestlers in wrestling. The screwdriver. To stab someone in the head.
And then missing a guy when you're supposed to stab him in the head and missing him the first time, where the referee's got to fucking have some type of fucking shudder or goddamn palpitation or whatever. He's got to jerk around and turn his back twice.
But Okada uses it to beat Takeshita, who's in the same stable with him. Don Callis leaves with Okada, doesn't leave with Takeshita. Don Callis also represents Fletcher. The screwdriver he was looking to use wasn't there. So there's something there with that. And
oh, yes. Kyle had gone to try to find the screwdriver, but it had already been used.
Moxley is the babyface. I think it's not the way a turn would have been done ever before, ever. But he is now officially a babyface, and they're going to do Death Riders versus the Callis family.
Oh, Christ. All right.
I can't wait to see Wheeler Yuta versus Rocky Romero. That'll be a real barn burner, a main event in any arena across the country. But Fletcher and Moxley, it was really good. And then like a lot of matches in AEW specifically, but it's a WWE problem now too. You want to get the pop, so you do the 2 counts nonstop, but you kick out of everything. And this was the peak of the show, match 2, because the fans expelled much of their energy with the near falls in this match.
Much like they were prepping for a colonoscopy, and they expelled most everything by this time this match was over. So, Brian, before we go any further in the pay-per-view, because there are hours left, this particular match, I mean, obviously, no names were mentioned. This specific spot was not mentioned. But this particular match, and really this whole show, as we'll talk about, prompted William Regal to send out a tweet. Just to, if to nobody else but just the active wrestlers, as a guy, again, with experience, somebody that they're supposed to look up to. He's been a trainer. He's had neck injuries. He's speaking from experience. And because of what they said, or what he said, and the AEW fans all knowing better than a 40-year veteran that's had 2 broken necks, they jumped all over him. It's because he's a WWE stooge. When he was talking about the wrestlers, not this company's wrestlers or that company's wrestlers. All these stupid fucking wrestlers. If I was in charge of OVW right now and this is what I had to work with, I'd close it down. Because there's nobody left to learn anything, because nobody wants to be fucking taught. They just keep doing this stupid shit to get these stupid fans to scream for them, because that's where the pops come in wrestling now. When they break furniture or the people think that somebody got really hurt.
Yeah. The pop used to be from the babyface grabbing the heel and the chance he was about to punch him, and now it's from a near fall.
Or from a near fatal injury.
Yeah. Well, William Regal.
So do you have Regal's tweet there that we can read?
I do, and he wasn't the only one. One of the first ones I saw was even Missy Hyatt said something, and she had the same thought I had when I saw that spot live. Misawa. I mean, we literally saw Misawa die in the ring after a career of bumps onto his neck, and it turns out it does damage. But here's William Regal's tweet. I stay off here, but was alerted to something today that has alarmed me. I don't read any comments, so don't waste your time trying to argue or justify your very wrong opinions on this. I broke my neck twice, September 93, in ring, and a car wreck in 97, and stupidly never told anyone. And I was taught properly how to bridge and not land on the top of my head. It's a skill that maybe 99.9% of people don't know or will ever learn anymore. I kept going, but knew all the tricks that, again, people don't learn now and watch film and just copy. After Misawa-san passed from his neck problems, I thought it would stop this nonsense. But it got worse. And whenever I talk to people about them doing it, it's, quote, well, it doesn't hurt. Believe me, it will. I have people close to me now, Brian being one, Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, who is suffering daily like myself from his neck. It's a daily misery, and sleep and every other aspect of your life is more than hard. Although people use the term tough about me, you'll never hear me say that, as I'm not, and don't think I am, and have never been. Money and whatever nonsense fame is supposed to be is not worth the pain or supposed two-evening glory you get from these ridiculous moves dropping yourself on your head. The vast majority of fans don't know the difference between a vertical suplex and a brainbuster.
Boom!
And that's a far tamer move than many I see now. I'm 57 and become less relevant every day, but fame has never been my thing, so most of you doing this stupid stuff are not going to listen to me, but hopefully a few do. Stop it now if you want a decent quality of life after wrestling, because that part of your life will be over before you know it, and wrestling done right is hard enough. But broken necks or death are not something you should think is tough or cool. It's idiotic thinking. And with that was an image of his X-ray or an X-ray of his neck.
And again, everybody said, well, what about the WWE? He's just saying that about AEW because you fucking morons.
He didn't name anyone.
He didn't name anybody. And besides that, I'm sure that there are a lot of other people in these little dipshit outlaw promotions that we don't watch that he might even keep up with, that he probably sees getting dropped on their heads. In even worse conditions on indie shows and rec centers for no money with no medical staff standing by or whatever. You see the goofy videos on Twitter all the time of some idiot that thinks he can do the triple flip off the top through the table like he sees on TV, and he goes face first to the fucking floor. That is, again, for years in the territory days, guys wrestled smarter because not only did they not have guaranteed money, and that's what everybody says, but here's another point. Okay, you used to have a job making $1 million a year, but if you got hurt, you weren't going to get paid, so sometimes you had to work hurt. Or you've got a job making $1 million a year, but now it's guaranteed, Brian. So even if you break your neck and end up being a paraplegic, you'll still get that $1 million. Does that make it easier when you have to say, oh shit, honey, I just broke my neck. I've got to eat through a straw for the next year and a half. Is it just because you know you're going to get paid? Do you still not want to try to avoid the broken neck is what I'm asking.
You know, the other thing is people try to argue that this is progress. Like this is wrestling progress, the advancement of moves and bumps and different things, the different acrobatics we see. People were doing acrobatics going back to the beginning. I mean, you hear all the arguments. But now, again, we're not at a time where fans get riled up over the heel. And it almost feels like the business moved away from that more because of people inside the business, specifically in AEW, but I mean WWE too, moving away from that, then the fans wouldn't do. The idea like, kayfabe's dead, the fans won't boo heels or do. No, they will, but you have to present wrestling that way. When everything's just about the athleticism and
And you got a bunch of pussy heels that don't want people to dislike them, but they don't mind risking goddamn all kinds of injuries, do these stupid, phony looking dives. But oh God, I don't want people to be mad at me. What? And that's the thing is, unfortunately, because all of these guys were brought up into the business by these morons that say it doesn't matter whether people know it's a work and it doesn't matter, that's all entertainment and we're all entertainers and actors and sports entertainers and everything. It's the stupidest thing that's ever happened. Because the way it's mattered then is now not only does everybody know it's a work, but they don't even bother to try in their performances to hook people. What I'm saying is all these matches look fake and phony because they're not bothering to make the basics look legitimate. They're just that stuff in the middle of their stunts. And this stupid Japanese trading forearms or chops. I'll let you hit me and then you let me hit you. And just all this bullshit. That's why people are only popping on broken furniture or broken bones because everything else looks so fucking stupid, silly, and phony. It's not whether you know it's a work, it's what you're looking at. And when you've got these subpar physical specimens and these goddamn, look at Spitball Bailey, for God's sake, or Pockets, or just jokes, just comedy figures, and heel managers winking, and even the top guys in the main events not being able to make shit look legitimate and not taking advice and or instruction and or, as Regal said, nobody's teaching these things anymore. They might be if anybody was listening. But it doesn't involve doing a stunt with a flamethrower, so they don't care. And that's why all the matches are the same. And nobody gives a shit except the dwindling number of people that want to give it 7 stars. And everybody else is thinking, look at these fucking pasty white, effeminate looking small guys pretending to fight each other, and it looks like shit. That's what we got. And they're killing each other while they're doing it because they're not smart enough to realize the reason why nobody ever did this shit for 125 years wasn't because they're not capable athletically, but because it's fucking stupid and not sustainable. And it's not what the business is. You are manipulating emotions based on having a large number of people with a strong positive attachment to one guy and a strong negative attachment to the other guy. Let's see him fight. Only a goddamn complete idiot gives a fuck about whether they do a jumping, leaping tombstone pile driver off the second turnbuckle in the course of that or not. Now you're just a goddamn idiot.
Yeah, again, it's not just an AEW problem. These bumps, and someone is going to get hurt. And you can't say...
You know what they're going to be, don't you, Brian?
What's that, Jim?
They're going to be bedridden. Think about it.
Potentially, yes.
Where else are you going to go? Well, let's say now you've lost the function of your legs and arms. That means you can't stand up very well, right? You can't lean very good. If you sit down in a chair, you can't stand up. So the only thing left to be is bedridden. So that's what, in 5 or 10 years, all of your favorite wrestlers now, ladies and gentlemen, they're all going to be bedridden, flat on their backs, unable to move, sucking soup through a straw, and blowing in one of those things like Stephen Hawking has to power his fucking chair around. And that's why that our friends at Helix Sleep have invented the new Stephen Hawking mattress.
They do not have a Stephen Hawking mattress. Let's just say
when that mattress comes in and you put it on your bed, you take that tube and you stick it in your mouth, you lay there and you blow on it. When you blow in the tube, automatically the mattress stands up and walks out of the house with you on it. And you can take that
jovial music, folks. That's
for a
the
walk
fun part.
down the street.
You're not going to do that, and of course, they don't have that mattress. What they do have,
as long as you keep blowing, it will stay upright.
Stop blowing, ladies and gentlemen, unless you want to blow to a good deal.
If you stop blowing, it'll go limp. But if you keep blowing,
this is getting
it'll
out of
stay
hand.
upright.
We haven't even started, and this is completely out of hand, ladies and gentlemen. Fun aside. We're talking about great mattresses. Mattresses we have here in my house. Mattresses they have at Castle Cornette. Comfortable, ready for you, what you need. Soft, firm. Yes. They've got it all. Helix Sleep.
They've got it all. And if you blow in that little tube, it'll stay erect.
There's no tube. There's no erect tube.
You know, there's a erect tube dysfunction then. If you've got night sweats or back pain, or motion transfer or motion capture. You might be in a video game. Know what? You're trapped in a video game. Helix can help out. Because if you sleep on a Helix mattress, well, then you're going to wake up refreshed and feeling fine. They make buying mattresses easy and they make sleeping on them. Even, it's a lot of work to sleep on some mattresses, Brian. You really, they fill them up with all kinds of off-brand materials, things they find around a junkyard, steel coils, broken glass, asbestos. Helix don't do all of that. You're going to have boxes of fluffy ducks. You're going to have bags of feathers. You're going to have incredible amounts of foam rubber and even some whipped cream, just anything you can think of that's soft. Just anything that you can think of that's pliable and malleable. That's what goes into these Helix mattresses. That's why they're so comfortable.
That's not official. Those are not the things that go into Helix mattresses.
They stick in extra things for me. They like me because I've bought so many of them. So they put some extra things in. Every once in a while, I'll lay down where the box of fluffy ducks is and it'll go whack. Folks, it's free shipping.
You hear that again? Jovial time. We're in a good mood with funny Helix Sleep stories here as we talk about Helix Sleep.
Well, and free shipping on the Helix mattresses. They deliver them right to your door. Free shipping in the United States, of course. If they got to put them on a boat, take them over to Guatemala or whatever. You're going to pay through the nose.
That's not wait,
Seamless delivery. Seamless delivery.
Yes.
That means they send you all of the ingredients and the materials for the mattress, and all you got to do when you get it, take it out of the box and just sew it up. So it's seamless delivery, but you're going to save money.
I can see why you would think that, but you do not have to apply any seams. The seams will be there. It'll be an easy delivery and a mattress with seams.
So it's a seamed delivery.
No, it's a seamless delivery, but a seamed mattress.
Well, but they'll take the stitches out before they deliver it. Well, nevertheless, and the Happy with Helix guarantee, you can rest easy with seamless returns. See, if you get it, it's not sewn together, you don't want it, you can return it and exchange it and get one that has been sewn together. The Happy with Helix guarantee offers a risk-free, customer-first experience. That means that we put you first, you being the customer, and you're going to be the first customer that's laid down on this Helix mattress you get. Now, it's been tested by a variety of other workmen and tradesmen over the period of time, but we make them take their shoes off before they get on it.
Not how it works, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, we got to make sure it works before we send it out.
You're really making me work today. Could you please help out and please?
Yes, a study that they made found that 82% of those involved saw an increase in their deep sleep cycle while sleeping on a Helix mattress. They've been studying these son of bitches for years now. The first guy, he's been in a deep sleep cycle for 7 years now. And it's all because of Helix. So, folks, if you'd like to go into a coma for 7 years or more, there's no better way to do it than right now.
That's not what will happen with a great mattress. Don't worry about coma, worry about Homa, Louisiana, even they need beds.
About the moon and the June and the Springer. I love to sleep on the Helix mattress. It feels so
Feels so good. Yes, that's Jim on that wavelength. Why don't we?
I was trying to rhyme mattress
with.
Well, I don't know. I didn't get there. You interrupted me.
Well, the question, the mystery will continue to next week. What can rhyme with mattress?
So you'll be on the mattress and your wife won't wear her fat dress. Folks, right now, if you go, well, you try rhyming mattress and see what happens. If you go to Helix Sleep, HELIX sleep.com, right now, that's the website that you need to go to, helixsleep.com, and you use the code JCE. The New Year's sale is still in effect, and you're going to get 27% off. If you get there before January 11th, get there before January 11th, you're going to get 27% off site-wide with the code JCE at helixsleep.com. The New Year's sale has been extended, and it's the time now. Before January 11th, don't fuck up, folks. 27% off site-wide, helixsleep.com/JCE. I love to sleep on the mattress that Helix has brought me. And then they left me a mattress. It's here. It's got no seams anywhere.
All right, I don't know what I'm playing. I don't know what you're singing.
Yeah.
But once again, Helix Sleep.
It's seamless. All righty. Well, Brian, now that we figured out how to have a good night's sleep, we're going to get back to the pay-per-view and determine who else needs to be put to sleep. But there's breaking news. This has just come across the news desk. And this is not related to AEW. This is serious business, folks. Brian, have you heard about this? My old hometown, Morristown, Tennessee. Have you heard about the big doings?
No, not at all.
This is the headline from WVLT TV, one of the fine TV stations down in Knoxville. The headline, Monkey who damaged Morristown business caught, police say. Morristown, Tennessee is the dateline. The Morristown Police Department, and boy, you talk about a SWAT team there, folks. The Morristown Police Department said they captured the monkey who damaged a business Sunday morning. According to the MPD, officers responded to Trade Center, a musical instrument store on South Cumberland Street in Morristown, after a cinnamon capuchin monkey went inside the business. Apparently, he was just walking down the street and decided to go in, buy some musical instruments.
Looking for some gear, yeah.
MPD said the monkey caused damage to the business and musical instruments. Animal Control responded to the business and tried to capture the monkey in the store, but were unsuccessful. According to MPD, the monkey was captured at a different location later in the evening. Additional information was not released, and there is a picture of this goddamn monkey with the most frightened face you've ever seen, standing in the middle of a fucking music store in front of an electric guitar. Going, what the fuck is going on around here? I want the additional information. Where did this monkey come from?
Yeah, is there a zoo nearby?
Not when I lived there. There was a couple of houses that we were a little, on the fence about, but not an official zoo. But was the business open, or did the monkey break in? How did the monkey break in? I see no burglary tools. If the business was open, then why is a monkey walking down South Cumberland Street in Morristown in the middle of the day? And why couldn't they capture it? They couldn't capture it there, but it was found later on when it stopped into a bar to get a drink.
So once they confronted it inside the music store, I thought it'd be playing drums. I thought that was the funny visual. It somehow got back out of the music store. Like, how did they let it get back out?
Well, they couldn't catch it.
You could block
It took
the door.
off, and I guess nobody. Well, this is Morristown. We're not dealing with the most highly trained monkey catchers in Morristown. You got to go to a big city like Chicago or Detroit. These are inexperienced monkey capturers. And where did it, another location, where was that other location? Could have been the Tally Ward Rec Center.
Where did you see this news story?
It's on Twitter. Somebody tweeted it to me from WVLT in Knoxville. Monkey on the loose in your old stomping grounds.
This is what happens when you elect a wrestler to be mayor.
Well, no, Morristown now doesn't have anything to do with Knoxville. That's a completely different county. They're on their own up there.
This is what happens when you let Jim Cornette live in your town.
Oh, hey, I've been gone for a while. But I wonder if the monkey escaped from there is a zoo in Knoxville.
How many miles is it from Knoxville to Morristown?
About 40. How fast does a monkey travel? Unless it gets a bus.
Or a vine.
It'd have to swing uphill. Anyway, let's go back to the pay-per-view, shall we, and talk about those monkeys. Because the next match on the card, the third match, but besides the pre-show, obviously, was a street fight match between FTR and Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson. Brana said the first two matches were heels against heels. Weren't Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson heels last time we looked?
I thought
they were. What? They weren't?
I think the Guns returned as baby faces and then his brother got hurt. And I think Juice Robinson returned. Was he a surprise in a casino match or something?
I don't fucking know.
And he shaved off his charisma. So you didn't know
well,
it was
no,
him right away?
he was really shaved a while back. Now he's grown some back, but it's still too well kept.
He grew that back, and his barber took revenge on him, obviously.
You've got FTR who are just floundering with a manager that doesn't know how to manage and is not allowed to have manager segments that managers do on this program because nobody else knows either. And Austin Gunn is one half of the Guns. I like the Guns, like to see the Guns back together. Not a half of them. Juice and Jay and Juice, Jen and Juice. They were a great team. They had a great match with FTR. This ain't them either. Why is this a street fight? FTR is, I know they've done some angle for it, but FTR is having a no rules, no disqualification street fight match with all kinds of blood against a middle card thrown together tag team just to put it on the pay-per-view. And now Austin Gunn is dressing like one of the Godwins with overalls. So I'm only going to talk about the spot at the finish, which everybody was talking about, but no rules, no DQ, street fight. They started with a four-way on the floor. They went up the entrance ramp and fought into the bleachers. And I said, I'm going to skip this shit. I know you watched it, and I know you have a couple of thoughts before we get to the finale. What the chairs, the trash cans, the tables, etc. Is it the same thing with FTR? Did they have a way too complicated match for the opposition that they couldn't keep up with and it wasn't necessary, culminating in this goddamn overly contrived and at the same time flat finish that I saw? Or did they do something great in the middle?
No, this may have been the worst FTR match I've ever seen. And it seemed like the crowd was overwhelmed with apathy. You know, this wasn't good. The highlight was the table spot. I watched it over and over. I laughed about it. Seemingly everyone else did. This was not good at all.
The table spot you mentioned was poor Stokely. They got there's no heat on any manager in this company because they never do anything successfully, but they do try to give them all the comedy spots in the world. This one was unintentionally funny. They're going into the finish, and Stokely is on the apron of the ring and has tried to grab a chair away from Juice Robinson. And they start with Juice in the ring and Stokely on the apron. They start having a little tug of war with the chair, which ends with Juice gives him a shove. And the idea that they're going for is that Stokely is going to fall off the apron of the ring and crash through the table that's set at ringside, because everybody knows you can't have a professional wrestling match without breaking a table. So that was what they wanted to do. And the only reason I'm laughing about this is because I mean, it may have shook him up, but it didn't look anywhere near like Stokely damaged himself as much as Kyle did. So we can laugh about it. And also the table got comedic too. And I'll tell you why this happened, but what happened was Stokely flew off the apron of the ring, skidded off the top of the table and went straight over it and landed almost head first on the ground and almost, if he'd have been a foot longer or a foot farther, he would have jammed his head and neck on the barricade around the ring, but he landed, it looked like just short of that. So he may have got a knot on his head, but this didn't look like it should have killed him. But here's the problem. Stokely may have trained to wrestle at one point, but Stokely is not an experienced guy going through a fucking table. So if you're going to do something like this, you can't just talk about it ahead of time, or maybe they even went out to the ring and walked through it and they didn't take the bump, obviously. Juice may have said, "I will have the tug of war and then I'll give you the shove and you fly off and go through the table." The problem is, Brian, you're not a country boy. You don't live down south where it's all peaceful and quiet and looks like Mayberry RFD. But have you ever tried to skip a flat rock on a lake?
Yes.
Okay. Then you've got the idea that you get a flat rock and you throw it flat sideways and it skips off the water, which is also the top of the water is flat. And you see how many times it skips before it sinks. That's what they did with Stokely. Stokely didn't come off the apron of the ring and go downwards onto the table. Stokely was so worried, and you can go back and watch the video and see what I'm talking about. He was so worried that he wasn't going to make it to the table that he launched himself off that apron, flung himself off it, and he skipped right off the table like a flat rock on a fucking lake. Because you ain't going to break the table if you're going sideways over the top of it. You have to be coming down with your weight in the middle of it. And the closer you get to the middle, the easier it's going to break because you've hit the part in between the two legs that has the least amount of support. This is just, is it physics or fucking science or gravity or whatever you call it? So Stokely flew backwards to try to make sure he made the table and skipped off the table and went over and landed a heap on the floor. And then the table, because he had brushed it on the way by, the table did a slow motion fall right on top of him. Just to add the insult to the injury, right? And I'm like, this poor fucking guy, but that's what you have to tell somebody who's not. And again, the reason why I'm saying this, people, there's going to be people, Cornette thinks he's so smart, and how great match did he ever have? I've been watching this, doing this, and booking this, and producing this for 50 fucking years. So at some point or another, unless you're a complete idiot, you not only see how shit goes wrong for other people, but occasionally you fucked it up yourself and you learn from it. And so I'm not breaking any revolutionary ground here, but they should have told the poor guy to make sure you come straight off the apron and down, not across, or you're going to fuck yourself up. And that's something that I would have told any manager or referee or valet or anybody who's not a regular wrestler is doing this all the fucking time. I don't know why it didn't come up. Maybe because they are convinced that everything they do is always going to work, or just fling themselves and hope for the best. Maybe that's what they do. But so then, the point being, now that if you know anything about wrestling and how to construct finishes, you want to go home immediately after you've got the people as up as they're going to get in the course of the fucking match. And usually, especially when it was a manager like a Heenan or a Dillon or a myself or whatever, once the manager has taken his big bump, that's the fucking pop. Then you go to the finish. Oh, God, no. They did 4 more moves to Austin Gunn, including 2 spike pile drivers, one of them on a title belt, and then beat him 1, 2, 3. And they tried the shatter machine actually was afterwards. No, that's what it was. They tried to hit the shatter machine on, I guess it was Juice, after Stokely took the table bump. They didn't get it the first time because Juice went into it and was going to boost himself, but Dax wasn't ready, so Dax shoves him back into the ropes and then boosts him. And that was a 2 count. They hit their finish. After the manager took his bump, here's the shatter machine. Boom, 2 count. What the fuck? Then, no, it was Austin Gunn's who it was, because then they did 4 more things to him, including the 2 spike pile drivers, and then beat him. And then nobody gave a shit. Black. It was flat. The manager takes the bump. Everybody's up. Here's our finish on this guy. Boom, 1, 2, 3. They're going to win anyway. But they can't help themselves from making it so complicated and so convoluted and contrived. So they had it there. They would have got a pop. They did 4 more things to him. Took a while to set those up. Beat him flat. The guy didn't have an out. It just, whatever the fuck. So that was FTR's match. And we hope that Stokely is all right, but he seemed like he was better off than Kyle was. Then they had a 13-minute girls tag team match. Go ahead.
Stokely has no heat.
No.
You know, every manager you named, if any, even if you had slid off the table, it would have been a big, big pop. He doesn't have any heel heat. Even with FTR acting like heels and doing whatever they did to Beth Phoenix a while back, Stokely, like, no one's looking to get him.
Why would they be? What's he done to anybody? Except he says a couple of lines on a promo, and then he's bumped around and treated like a buffoon. He's never caused FTR to win a major match or championship by his nefarious tactics. He's not ever said anything horrible to somebody unless it was meant in a comedy way. Why would anybody be mad at him? The biggest pop when he took the bump was the laugh when the table turned over on him. But they don't know how to have real managers here. Don Callis is a goddamn textbook example of that. But anyway, as I said, they had a 13-minute girls tag. Who was in it? I don't remember. Do you?
Off the top of my head? I don't know.
Okay. So then we get to Darby Allin and Gabe Kidd. And I had thought, I forgot, I thought Gabe Kidd was Jeff Cobb, but Gabe Kidd is the Temu Josh Alexander. So did they do some kind of angle on one of the shows we don't watch, or did they just come up with this match as a double juice grudge match where Darby was challenging for the world title and it seemed like on the cusp of being a main player in the company, and now he's in there with a mid-card part-timer and they're having a bloodbath?
Well, if you remember,
where did this come from?
If you remember when they had their residency in Philadelphia, Darby put Gabe Kidd in a body bag and drove off with him.
Oh, but they found him and he came back.
I presume. He was gone a while.
Well, more of Darby's torture porn, no semblance of a wrestling match. The majority was spent on the floor. And then finally, Gabe Kidd gave Darby a leaping pile driver and got a 2 count and then went to do something else, and Darby just rolled him up 1, 2, 3. So there was that. At least it wasn't long. They had a tornado intergender 8-man tag team match.
Oh, fuck this match. Fuck this match. Oh, the little bits I saw of this match were awful.
Well, I saw what people put out on Twitter before I actually watched the show, so I knew to skip this because I'd been pissed off I wouldn't watch the rest of this show. But it was Roderick Strong, Mark Briscoe, Pockets, and Tony Storm against Claudio, Garcia, Useless, and Schaefer. And what the people shared on social media of this business was Tony Storm and Pockets doing ballroom dancing where it looked like a 66 Batman TV series fight scene where they would swing each other out and they'd jump up and kick an opponent or hit the guy or whatever. It was like, swing your partner, do-si-do, kick him in the balls and step on his toe. It's embarrassing. And again, I've worked with Roderick, I've worked with Mark Briscoe and Claudio. Don't know the other idiots, but they wouldn't have done this 10 years ago. They still took their, even though they were the modern fellows, they took their business seriously. And they weren't just out to just jack off in the ring in front of the fans that paid to see it and just shit on everything. But now in this group, in this company, they don't care. It's like,
hey, Roderick's working with his wife.
What? Ricky Morton told me one time, this was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. He said he was working on a show somewhere and they had him in a multiple person tag team match. And the guys had told him right before they started the match, said, watch this first spot. He's thinking, oh, this is going to be great or whatever the fuck. And they started doing the slow motion thing. And he said, Jimmy, he said, I didn't know it was coming. And I was so embarrassed. And what can I do? They're just working the match in slow motion on purpose. And people are laughing. He's like, what could I do? So, well, you could have fucking just dropped down on the floor and left, but I guess he hadn't got paid yet. But even the guys that at one point you could count on and that weren't assholes and jackoffs, they're just doing this shit now because they don't care. They're getting paid anyway. They don't have any pride or self-respect. I don't know what the fuck it is. I can't explain it. Anyhow, that was followed by Statlander beating Hater. And then we got...
That was all right. The crowd wasn't terribly into it for a lot of it, but that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was also 3 hours fucking in, plus the pre-show. And finally, we got to the meat of the matter on the last two of these things. The tournament final, Dick the Boozer versus Oh Sleepy, Oh Boring. And I wrote, finally somebody beat this lazy sack of shit, and it had to be Moxley. Again, it's another heel versus heel match, but now they're cheering Moxley, even though he's done nothing to turn. They just need somebody to cheer for, since all the other babyface in this company are schmucks or nerds. And they ring the bell for this thing 3 hours into the show, plus the pre-show. And you know, with these two, because Moxley, in his pickled brain, somehow fantasizes himself a badass mixed martial artist and a Japanese wrestling icon.
Death Jitsu.
And he's wrestling Death Jitsu. Yeah. That's what you get when you watch this shit. Death Jitsu. It starts in your stomach and comes up brings all the bile and the stomach acid up. And he's in there with dipshit that's won every Japanese tournament and is the greatest Japanese tournament wrestler of all time. I got news for everybody. I think Japanese wrestling used to be the best on the planet, just like it used to be great here. And the same thing has happened over there. A bunch of unprofessional, personalityless, talentless dipshits have taken the thing over and made it as bad there as it is here now. And this is the worst of both. You've got a broken down wannabe great Japanese wrestler that couldn't fucking touch Fujinami's dick, even though he probably wants to. And you've got this mental incompetent American that wants to copy all the Japanese shit that he thinks is so great and is almost better at it than Kingston.
I think Fujinami's dope.
So that's what you got. The worst of modern Japanese wrestling, plus contrived American spots, kickouts of everything, a washed up, broken down guy against the worst pushed worker in the entire world. And the last several minutes of this thing was like watching milk sour. And then they traded fake forearms.
My specialty.
20 minutes. Moxley with the double arm DDT 1, 2, 3.
What do you, before we even get to anything else about this, because I'm fascinated about this one aspect of it, what do you think about the fact that they had a Continental Classic and then a Continental Champion, and they had the International Champion, and they merged them as the Unified Championship, and that only lasted till this? And now it's no longer a Unified Championship. Okada goes back to just being the International Champion. Any thoughts?
I don't even understand what you just said. And you pretty much summarized it. Nobody understands with these belts. Everybody's got a belt. Everybody's got a title. Everybody's got a belt. Multiple. Samoa Joe was coming into the goddamn matches for the last couple months as the AEW World Champion while also carrying the Ring of Honor World Six-Man title belt with him. Like that didn't just confuse the goddamn issue and who would give a shit. And why they didn't immediately, once that Joe won the real title, declare the six-man thing for Ring of Honor vacant and do another one of Tony's tournaments or whatever, but just get that stink off of their real world champion. But, and not even talking about Josephine Camel carrying 14 belts out. Now she can't whip cream with an outboard motor. Went undefeated, won 15 fucking belts. Now they're beating her like a goddamn drum. And the same thing with Moxley. Moxley couldn't win a match. He put Kyle O'Reilly over. Then he comes out and wins this fucking tournament in the most boring way possible. None of this makes any sense. And I'll say one more thing and I'll quit on this. We'll get to the main event. You can tell that Tony, this is the problem. If this was just being done on a spur of the moment and it all makes no sense and there was no thought put into it, you could understand it. But Tony intricately overthinks this and writes this shit down, and somehow this all makes sense to him. But he's putting a lot of work into it. And again, for something that might just be being made up on the spot, okay, that's why it doesn't make any sense. But for him to immerse himself in this night and day, and it still don't make a lick of goddamn sense, that's troubling to me.
Well, Moxley now a babyface, now a champion. I thought when they created the national championship, that was to replace the lost title that was unified, but now championships galore. And we'll see what happens with the babyface Death Riders.
Well, they're going to have to be the Life Riders, aren't they now? Can they be the Death Riders and be babyfaces?
Well, we're about to find out.
Can they be the Riders on the Storm? Riders on the Storm. Doon, doon, doon,
oh my God. Can you imagine him walking through the arena to that?
Our leader is all drunk. Doon, 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 doon. And our ship is sunk. Doon, 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 doon. Oh, we wish we could have a match, but we can't. Booker we catch. I don't know.
All right. Robbie Krieger over here.
Well, now it's time for the main event, Brian. I know you've been waiting on this like I have. The World Heavyweight title is on the line in a four-way, two baby faces. MJF is a heel that they're cheering louder than anyone, and poor old Samoa Joe. So we knew what was going to happen here. We just wanted to see how it was going to happen. With the pre-show, we were 4.5 hours in before the bell rang on this one. And I think this was the shortest match of the night. And that's probably because they realized, why are we even here? They can't have a match. It's a four-way. They just do shit to each other. The crowd was so tired out. I saw people getting oxygen in the goddamn ringside seats. There's nothing left to do in the ring. People have bled. People have been nearly killed. Furniture has been broken. And so that's what they did. They just had a match where they did shit to each other. At one point, Paige was just kneeling on the floor outside the ring, leaning on the apron, just watching what was happening in the ring. They'll do their spot and then they'll roll out, and in full view of the entire crowd in the building, they'll just fucking sit there and wait for their next spot. I mean, I can't. Watching one of these shows, I don't know if anybody at the end of the night would have not been fired if they were working for Dusty Rhodes or Bill Watts or goddamn anybody. Definitely me. And MJF was the smartest one because he, for the most part, this wasn't smart for business. It wasn't a smart way to do the match, but for him to not look like shit, he would just take a bump and roll out. You wouldn't see him again for ages. He played almost no part in this thing till the end. And that was probably the path of least resistance. Let me just get out of the fucking way of these idiots. At the start, Swerve dove on MJF, and then Joe dove on both of them. And then they all three stood up and stood there and waited for Paige to moonsault off the top onto him on the floor. And he went over all three of them without touching them. And all three of them fell down anyway. And Sockface tried to cover it. Well, he got Joe and MJF and Swerve, then hit heads. What is this, goddamn billiard championships? We're doing a trick shot with fucking Minnesota Fats. Even when they have guys that can work, the rotten booking, the stupid multiple man matches, and the idiots like Paige don't know what they're doing, screw everything up. And then they do the part where they try to counter and reverse everything because Swerve and Paige think they're video game characters. So it looks like watching drunks square dance. It's so contrived, it's obviously phony. And the fans, again, they're waiting for somebody or something to get broken. As I said, MJF out of everything for most of the match. Then Hobbs, Hook, and Shapoopy all ran down and just started beating people up in front of the referee. But it's no disqualification. And then the referee was arguing with the heels like, you're not supposed to be doing this, and they're paying no attention. So the other referees come down now and get the heels and take them out. But then they can't go to the finish. They have interference in the middle of the matches. Like that's ever been a thing that ever happened, ever, anywhere, ever. Did I mention ever? And then they just keep going the match. And then MJF pushed Swerve off the top rope like he was going to hit the fucking desk, but he was a foot short, so he just crumpled. And then Paige hits Joe with 2 buckshot lariats. But Joe doesn't take a bump. He's got to do the Mantar Weeble Wobble in the ring. And there's nothing that's more overdone and worn out in wrestling than the big guy getting hit and staggering and waiting to be hit again while he's staggering. So Paige hits Joe with 2 buckshots and is going for the third. And MJF pushes Joe out of the way and kicks Paige in the balls and then gives Joe the heat seeker. Boom, 1, 2, 3. So MJF did almost nothing and stole the title. And I know people are going to say, well, that's the way the heel gets heat. Oh, Christ, on a cracker, they're doing everything backwards. If he was going to cheat and steal the title, then have him cheat and steal the title in single match. And then gradually force him into this goddamn predicament he was in where 3 guys that hate him are going to be in the same match and they're all going to try to kill him. How's he going to get out of it? He's not going to be able to steal it this time. No, they go backwards. They have a 4-way. They have the biggest star in the company, MJF, return from Hollywood. And instead of him looking like a world beater, he does almost nothing, gets a cheap win stealing the belt, and now they're going to have single matches after they've already had the 4-way. And he's more popular as a heel than any of these other motherfuckers are as baby faces. So explain to me how the fucking shit makes sense here.
How it makes sense? I can't explain it to you that way. Why it happens? I don't know what you're looking for. I don't know what you're looking for here.
I'm looking.
They got the belt on MJF.
Job. I'm looking for another fucking job. Is what I'm looking.
They got the belt on MJF. He didn't have to defeat Adam Page because they had Samoa Joe as a buffer. So you set that up for the future. Swerve. I don't know if there's going to be too much MJF Swerve stuff in the future. They're already setting up MJF and Omega. That'll be pretty big.
Oh Christ on a cracker.
Hey, you know what? Of anyone in AEW, who would I want to see Kenny Omega work a good match with? That's the one guy we really haven't seen, right?
Well, that's true. And now that Kenny actually has to try to wrestle and have matches instead of just doing all of his flying stuff because he's goddamn crippled himself, if he listens to MJF, he can probably have a good match. Now he won't be doing all that bullshit.
He won't have to.
But nevertheless, I honestly can't see how you can sell. But what the fuck do I know? I've only been booking for almost 40 years. But how can you sell a single match between MJF and any of these guys when he's already beat them all in a fucking 4-way? It's completely backwards. But they start out with cages and then go to one fall 15-minute time limit matches. That's their MO. All this shit's backwards. It's almost like we're looking in a mirror.
Almost like it's World's End, and that was indeed AEW World's End 2025.
But you know what, Brian? If you were going to pick, if you had been going to pick the winner, and we did, who would you have picked? Well, we did. We picked the winner, MJF. Maybe we ought to start picking other things. What do you think?
We did get the winner of this match. That's what I think. Sorry for the long delay there. I think we got the winner of this match.
You could say, well, what else should we pick?
What else?
I see a way to start.
Jeez, Jim, what else should we pick?
Well, we can pick all kinds of things because we got our friends over at Prize Picks. And this episode is brought to you in part by Prize Picks, only the parts you like, not the parts you don't. Whether you're starting a new routine for the new year or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, Brian, in life and on Prize Picks. But it's always good to be right. And when you're right at Prize Picks, it can mean money. And there's high-pressure playoffs coming up and elite hoops action coming up. And then, of course, there's the incredible series of championship tournaments going on now in archery. And what is that? Lacrosse. That lacrosse is a hot upcoming sport. No matter what you want to pick, the people at Prize Picks will let you pick it. Even if it's your ass. You can pick your ass, they'll pay you for it.
No, they won't. First of all, I don't know how that would work, and that's not one of the things they'll do. Let me stop you there. There it is.
If you pick your ass and it's a correct pick, let's say your ass makes over or under the amount of points in a fantasy football playoff game.
Oh,
well, if you're right about the points that your ass did or did not score, well, then you've picked your ass and you've made money.
Well,
Folks, they've got early payouts. See, you can't argue with that.
I can't argue with that, of course.
Prize Picks has early playouts or payouts. They've now, here's what they've
got it all, folks. It's a one-stop shop.
Everything you might want. They've got early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And now, again, what if he cools off? What if he just fucking lays a turd in the fourth quarter? You've already got your money and you're out of there before the Prize Picks people know what happened. Just don't answer the door for a few months because they'll come back to try to get it, but you can wait them out. They will give up. I'm telling you, they'll give up if you just hide.
There'll be no giving up. There'll be no examples like this. No one will be coming to your door. No reason to hide. And
just don't show your face.
There was another thing I had to walk back, and I can't remember.
Well, don't worry about walk because I'll tell you where you can walk here with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. So say somebody's really good at this. Well, you can just copy their lineup, click, boom, and nobody saw you. And just lie if they bring you in for questioning. Just say, I never saw the guy's lineup. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, no,
there's no way to prove it.
They're not saying you're not allowed to. They're saying you're allowed to.
Well, wink, wink. They don't really encourage it. But you can copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. Ha ha, inspiration. There have been more than one plagiarism suit filed over inspiration. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us or you and tail or fade our picks with just one click. So I'll get the tail and you get the fade. But on Prize Picks, how you play is up to you, and whether you wear protection or not, completely optional. If you want flexibility, boy, you've come to the right place. She can put her left foot
Can you get back on track?
Well, I just said the left foot above the head on the right side. Flex play. You're going to make money on flex play. What you need to do is download the Prize Picks app right now, and it'll tell you a lot about this stuff before Brian's music starts playing. And Prize Picks puts their users first. They put their users first, right out in front of them, where if anybody starts shooting, they're going to be in the line of fire first because Prize Picks is going to hide behind them and stay healthy. And Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states. That messy class action suit was settled down there in Delaware.
There was no class action suit. You don't know anything about any legal things you shouldn't be commenting.
There's only 16 people in Wyoming, so it didn't count really to begin with. Bunch of fucking cattle.
Everyone counts.
There. Well, with Prize Picks, you better be able to count with all the money you're going to win, and you can stack. That means you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Now, that put upon son of a bitch playing 3 different positions, he's going to be tired out. But if he scores, they triple and quadruple the money. Folks, right now, download the Prize Picks app today and use the code JCE. That's the code you're going to want to use to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is the code JCE. $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Only on Prize Picks, because it's good to be right. It's even better to be right all the time. And if you cheat, then there's a chance you could make a lot of money here.
Once again, don't cheat. Prize Picks.
Well, don't tell your mother.
Download the app.
She would be really heartbroken.
Do things the honest way. Download the app and
I don't know about the gaming. She might not approve of the gaming. She always said that gaming would lead me down the road to ruin, playing craps out behind the elementary school with those big kids. Boxcars, big bennies. That's it. I used to lose my clothes and my lunch money. Lost my shoes one time. But Prize Picks won't do that to you.
No, they won't.
No, because it's not anything to be ashamed of. You can tell your mother about your Prize Picks involvement.
Once again, download the app, use JCE, a great deal from Prize Picks.
And tell your mother.
Nothing to hide from your mother.
Nothing to hide. Well, there's some things to hide, but not about prize
Not
picks.
here and now,
Tell her
Jim.
don't tell her about your whore in Richmond.
All right. This is your show still.
All righty, Brian. Well, before we leave today, I have found something, as we do often on this program, bringing facts and figures back from wrestling's pioneer history. We bring these things to light, and I've found something. Actually, you know this book. You have this book. Scott Teal, our friend Scott over at crowbarpress.com, one of the books that he has put out is a 3-volume set on pro wrestling and comic strips, illustrations, and cartoons. And we talked about this a few months ago.
I love it. It's amazing.
Well, there are comic strips and different drawings and et cetera and cartoons. And he searched newspapers back to the dawn of the 20th century for various things that fit that nature. Even there's an Amos and Andy short, The Wrestling Match, from 1934, and it has cartoons in. So they have, he has reprints of those ads and other things involving comic strips, but there are also some newspaper articles that may just have one little, the old sports pages had the little caricatures of the baseball players, the football players, or whatever. And there's one full page from St. Louis, December 27, 1931, a full-page article on Londos and his year of 1931. And the headline is, Jimmy Londos, wrestling 101 times in 1931, is busiest champion and big money maker. And now a lot of people are, how do we know so much about the gates and the attendances of these matches back in the Depression and the 20s and 30s? Since wrestling and boxing, pro wrestling and pro boxing kind of started in the same era and used the same rings and the same facilities, and the athletic commissions back then, even the promoters liked giving publicity to the gates they drew, because like all the Jack Pfeffer posters, Brian, you've seen a bunch of them. The Fabulous Fargos, fresh off drawing a $62,000 house in Madison Square Garden, which was legitimate. It was reported by the New York State Athletic Commission. But the promoters would advertise that in those days. They weren't operating a modern territory and a modern company like it came to be, where the guys got paid usually pittances on the houses, and they didn't want the guys to know how big the houses really were because they'd be even madder about their money. It was the opposite. The promoters and the commissions in those days, they advertised these big crowds and these big figures to show how popular their sport was, how popular the champion was, what a big deal he was in the sports world. And until the 1960s, as we've mentioned many times, wrestlers and boxers were the highest paid professional athletes. In the 1950 network television run, the only professional athletes in the United States making more money than the top wrestlers were whoever the world heavyweight boxing champion was. There was no money yet in pro football or basketball or baseball. That's why Ernie Ladd quit and Wahoo quit to football, the whole 9 yards, right? So these figures have persisted, but it shows you 1931, I don't know that it was the worst year of the Depression, but it was the second worst, I think. And here, not only because this is the St. Louis newspaper and there was a Missouri Athletic Commission, and Sam Muchnick was already in the business technically at this time, I believe, working in Tom Pax's office, but they were always in with the sports writers in the paper and the Athletic Commission people, and they advertised and promoted wrestling like the other professional sports with these figures. So for the people who think, well, this is all just bullshit that was made up in some old newspaper, that is kind of how this stuff takes place. But do you Would you like to know the subheading, Brian? And 1931, I don't have my inflation calculator up. I should have done that, but maybe you can because you're quicker. But in 1931, this newspaper article says that records indicate that Londos cleared for wrestling 101 times in 1931, cleared $252,500 with his matches attracting gates up to $63,000. Now, I'm going to say that 1931 to today is 20 to 1. $1 then is $20 today. I don't know if you've had a chance to.
If I go with just the flat number of $252,000, in today's money, that's $5,340,000.
There you go. It's about 20 to 1. So that means that the $63,000 gate was actually a $1.25 million gate. And that's countrywide, but they also have a sidebar with a listing of the 7 times that Londos wrestled in St. Louis. And this was at the arena, later to become the Checker Dome. This predates the Kiel Auditorium. But it says Jimmy Londos' 7 appearances in St. Louis in 1931 drew $150,013.66 in gross receipts from a total of 92,320 spectators, according to official figures from the office of Commissioner Seneca C. Taylor, the chairman of the Missouri Athletic Commission. On February 20th, Londos and Ray Steele drew 10,567 people for $19,774. Again, 20 grand would now be $400,000. Londos and Dano Shocker on April 8th drew 7,139 people for 13 grand and change. But the rematch 3 weeks later drew 13,973 people for $35,270. That's 700 grand. Londos versus Carl Pagello, 11,518 people for 12 grand. Londos and Bert Kampfer in September and November drew hold on, this copy is so small, 18,000 on each match and 23,000 at the gate. So that was a sellout of the arena at regular prices. The Oshaker rematch must have been elevated prices. And then Londos and Garibaldi, does not say which one. I bet you, would it have been Leo?
Gino.
Or Gino, yeah. Drew 12,176 and $22,000. But the point is 92,000 people. And those weren't the only 7 matches in St. Louis. That's just the 7 that Londos appeared on. But the gross receipts for those 7 was 150 grand, which would have been, again, in today's money, $3 million. And if he grossed 250 grand, as you mentioned earlier, that's more money than most anybody in wrestling today is making, adjusted. And then I wish the print wasn't so small, but this same page has a list of every single match that Londos wrestled in 1931 with the opponent, the date, and the location. And I mean, I can see the towns in March: Richmond, Virginia, Baltimore, Atlanta, Georgia, Philadelphia, Memphis, New York, Boston, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, New York, New Haven, Jersey City, Boston, Patterson, New Jersey, and back in Baltimore. And that's with no interstates in 1931, in a depression, with air travel in its infancy at best. This guy was the biggest sports star in the United States of America.
And even when you talk about ticket prices, regular prices versus special prices for a big match, those are reasonable compared to the way things are today. So it's not even a fair comparison just because of how different everything the system is. Imagine if Londos had merch. Imagine if Londos had, any of the things that they have today, working a few times a month and making all that money. It's a different animal, but cheap ticket prices by and large.
And again, it says these records kept by the Post-Dispatch from reports of Press Association services may be incomplete due to the fact that reports of some of Londos' matches may have not been filed. But granting the total is correct, he wrestled an average of twice a week for more than 11 months. And if his average pay was only $2,500 a match, $2,300, a conservative estimate, he cleared $252,000. And again, there's many times he's wrestling 5 out of 7 days in a week. If they can get the trains, that he can make it. But there was no comparison, I would think, except who was, God damn it, I used to know this too. Who was world boxing champion in 1931, I wonder? I'm trying to think, was that the Dempsey era? That would have been his only competition as the most famous professional athlete in the United States of America.
Well, with Babe Ruth, I would say Babe Ruth has to be on the list of most famous.
Okay, well, Babe Ruth at that point. Yeah,
Max Schmeling.
Max Schmeling, that evil German. Well, Joe Louis is coming, Schmeling, so fuck you. But that's the thing, is Babe Ruth wasn't making this much money. Not nearly this much money. The wrestlers and the boxers, because of the unique status that they had as being a one-man team that could travel all over the country, that they were only splitting the money up. Back in those days, it was the main event guys, as we've seen, that made the money, and the promoter made a little, and the underneath guys just were cannon fodder. But the ability that the boxers and wrestlers had at that point to set their own matches up, to make the majority of the money, and especially when nobody else in sports was doing anything, it shows that wrestling was in the place that now football, baseball, and basketball are in, with the highly paid athletes and the incredible crowds. It's completely switched in the last 100 years. But yeah, there's an amazing list. And it says here that in these 101 matches, I think I'm trying to read this, but it says he's opposed only 28 or 38 wrestlers. So, because those were the top fucking guys, right? You could do the same thing in Milwaukee, you could do in Memphis. But I can't imagine that kind of road schedule in those days was in any way conducive to long-term health or, happiness. But he was, again, the big draw for was it 13 or 14 years he was in the business a lot longer than that, but as the undisputed king of the box office in wrestling, he had the longest run ever, even past Bruno and Thez.
I was just this past weekend putting away some of my 1940s California programs, and I ran into something that was in a variety of programs, the Olympic and Long Beach, various towns, and it was there. This is while Jack Pfeffer was supplying talent. Their list of world title claimants. And this is the end of 1945, and one of them on here is still Jim Londos, recognized in Phoenix, Arizona as the world champion.
Yes, and
14
was
years
on
later.
top. What was on top in the late 19 teens, even though his heyday really didn't start until the late 20s and run through the mid to late 30s. But I mean, after that, there was more of a recognition factor amongst the average person in the United States during the 30s for Jim Londos than there was in the 80s for Hulk Hogan. So how long was Hulk Hogan a major name in the culture after the 80s because of that reputation. More people had heard of Jim Londos. So even in the 50s, he could walk into a newspaper office or make a personal appearance, and just by virtue of the fact that everybody had heard that name, even if they hadn't seen him wrestle, he was a major star for the rest of the time he spent in the business. Anyhow, and I love these old newspapers because you can get more legitimate information about a fake business out of the papers of the 20s, 30s, and 40s than you can today out of the goddamn newsletters and news sites. Because this shit actually was legitimate documentation put out by the athletic commissions, and things were still, they tried to make wrestling so legitimate in those days that they did the legitimate things, contract signings and various things that other sports and businesses would do, and then work the shit amongst themselves behind the scenes. But you get great facts and figures and, details on all of these things that you would never get. So many of the promoters, I'll say this and I'll let you have a chance. So many of the promoters back then, the only way they could promote was with the newspapers, because there was no television. It's not they didn't have it, nobody had it. And especially the Gulas Welch office in Tennessee, but a lot of them, they got good relationships with the newspapers where they would actually, when the newspaper printed a write-up on the matches, they would give the finish. As the office had given it to them, well, Brian came in with a stick and hit the guy over the head, and the referee didn't see it, and the fans were upset. So next week, it's going to be a cage. That's the way they promoted. So you'd actually, when's the last time that a newspaper in the United States of America printed the actual finish of a fucking wrestling match? That's why now if it wasn't for the internet and all the smart fans and the newsletters and whatever, we wouldn't know what the fuck happened in these matches. But 100 years ago, or even less, in the 40s and 50s, they were printing the finishes in the paper so that the fans would know when they went next week what had happened the previous week if they missed it.
And again, it was a newspaper culture. That's why the people like William Randolph Hearst became so powerful. Everyone read the newspaper.
Yes, that was the thing. I mean, they might not read it cover to cover. And you know me, not only am I old, but my father was in the newspaper business. They wouldn't read it cover to cover, but everybody got a paper. Because some of them only wanted to see the sports. Kids wanted to see the comics. The women wanted to see the Today's Living section. The fucking, there was something, whoever's buying or selling wants the classifieds. But one way or another, a newspaper got into everybody's house and everybody's hands. And these guys were on the front pages of it. That's why they were the biggest stars in the world. And then the wrestling business has contracted and become smaller, while all of the other businesses and sports that weren't that big of a deal have shot past. For a time machine.
Oh, did you say you want a time machine? Hold on.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
That's not a time machine.
All right, now it won't stop. Back to you, Jim.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. Let's go to press. Jim Londos and Strangler Lewis will battle for the wrestling championship at Wrigley Field, and that'll be the first real battle anybody has put up there in several years. Ask Mr. Comiskey. And now, the weather. No, that's a kind of, you got the news from the newspaper. And that's what happened. And that's why Jimmy Londos is still the biggest draw in the history of the wrestling business. But again, I know the tickets didn't cost a lot, but this is a country of 350 million people now, as opposed to, what was it, 150 million in the 30s? no air travel, no interstates, primitive motor cars. And this motherfucker is putting 10, 15,000 or more in the ballparks in Boston and New York and Chicago, 30,000 to see him wrestle these guys with no television, limited radio and newspaper coverage. That's a big star. Just like me, I'm a big star too, and I'm back. Brian, we're doing 2026 like it's never been done before. Does that make any sense?
Well, I guess it's true, actually.
It's very true, but it might not make any sense. But we're going to do 2026 like it's never been done before all this year, when we have more great shows and witty repartee and amusing banter and pithy conversation. Are you ready to be pithy with the people in 2026?
Oh, there's going to be a lot of pithiness, and we're going to be right back with the drive-thru in a few days, and we got a lot of big stories on there to talk about. We're still getting caught up. That's right. Am I told that we're going to do 3 shows this week? Well, we're going to record. We'll talk about off air.
We're recording 3 shows in a 1-week period to catch up because we had our break. But I'm thinking, if we did extra shows before the break and we're doing extra shows after the break, did we really get a break, or did we just rib ourselves?
Well, of course, folks, if you think that we're working really hard, you could send money. That's always encouraged. Send money. But this is your show.
Where would you like them to send it? I've got a post office box in Louisville. If you'd like them, and I'll promise I'll send you your half.
Well, you're an honest guy.
That's true, as far as you know. All right, we're done here, aren't we? Are we done here?
Oh, certainly. Yes. Must.
Can we be done here?
Yeah.
It's 4:19 in the day. So by the time that I wrap this up, it'll be 4:20. Folks, the experience is over for the first week of January, but the drive-thru is coming and the experience is coming back, and a bunch of people are trying to kill themselves, and we're going to watch them do it. And in joining me is going to be Brian all year, except if, I don't know, you may have some type of time travel on your own. We may have to get a guest host on standby, just in case you got to go back in time and pick up Jim Londos's fucking train tickets.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, and now it's 4:20. Okay, I meandered long enough. It's 4:20. Time to get out of here.
Yeah. It's time.
Thank you. Fuck you. Bye-bye, everybody.